right, we're continuing our coverage on Hurricane Milton. Some quick stats for you. We've had 19 confirmed tornadoes today here in the Sunshine State. Not your typical tornadoes that come out of a tropical system. Usually those are weak tornadoes, EF0, EF1. We had some very violent, very strong tornadoes today that are more than likely going to be rated at least EF2. These are the type that you'd see out in the Central Plains and not here in Sunshine State during a tropical system. All right, Hurricane Milton at one point had winds to 185 miles per hour at its peak. Winds are down to 115 now, and they're continuing to come down. Made landfall at 8:30, Siesta Key. And by the way, our biggest threat tonight is going to be from flooding rain. Let's take a look at the radar, and you'll see that the eye has come on in to Siesta Key and is continuing to move to the north and east. The heaviest weather right now is out toward the Tampa-St. Pete area. We have an extreme wind warning for Pinellas as well as Hillsborough and Manatee counties for the extreme wind that is coming in just north of the eye. Now, as these winds are translating out, we've had many gusts over 50 to 60 miles per hour already in these bands that are continuing to rotate in. And the rain is heavy and it's going to last for quite a while. So as we zoom in a little closer, we have flash flood warnings that include Brevard, Orange, Seminole, Volusia County. That includes Daytona Beach, Deltona, Melbourne, and here in Orlando for several inches of rain that has come down. Hopefully you're not on the roads. There shouldn't be anybody out traveling at this time, not to mention the fact that we're also starting to pick up that wind, and with saturated ground, trees are going to start to come down. Flash flood warning also up, as you see here, into St. Johns County and parts of Flagler County. The highest rainfall total so far in red coming out of southern Sumter and over into southern Lake County, so out over the Green Swamp and extending back into northwestern Polk County. Pockets in eastern Orange County looks like out just east of Wedgefield, north of Weehawhoty, but everything in orange also several inches of rain that has already fallen in just the past 6 hours, and we have several more hours of heavy rain. Something I want to point out to you though is that because the eye came in Siesta Key and is kind of crossing a little bit more to the south, that eye is more than likely going to come across far southern Polk County, far southern Osceola and southern Brevard. With that said, the rainfall totals may start to shift to the south a bit. Notice the high-end rain here, Flagler County, 24 inches. The possibility of 1.5 to 2 feet of rain, but that may be shifting south into Volusia County, 8 to 12 in a very big swath that could now extend into much of Volusia County, down into Seminole, Orange, and Lake County. So this may be adjusted south now that the eye has come in and it's moving a little bit more to the south. Flash flooding is going to take us through the overnight. I really hope we don't end up with any flash flood emergencies, but in any case, be in your safe place. If you start to get water coming on into your home and it's coming in fast, you have to try and get yourself to higher ground somehow. But hopefully those who are asked to evacuate have done so we don't have to worry about that. Wind threat, yes, it is very high as we work our way through the next few hours. And the peak of those wind gusts coming into much of the Orlando Metroplex here, probably going to be, I'd say, in a couple of hours from now. Brevard County, you'll get those after midnight, and this system races offshore. Backside of it is where we're unfortunately going to expect the potential for some pretty serious storm surge coming into Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard County, 3 to 5 feet as a matter of fact. So this is tomorrow morning at 4. This is already a little bit off. The eye is going to be a lot more south than indicated here, okay? Notice the winds on the backside, 50 to 55 miles per hour through the wee hours of the morning. So as this storm system starts to clear out tomorrow, winds will start to come down slowly. And as we're trying to assess the damage, keep in mind, trees are still going to fall. Even if you're seeing some sunshine out there, those gusty winds could take those trees down. So be mindful of the trees. So Leesburg, you're going to get those wind gusts here through early tomorrow morning, 8 to 12 inches of rain. How about a quick shot of Orlando? The worst conditions have already started to roll in. Looks like a couple hours from the extreme wind could exceed 60, 75 miles per hour. And I'm going to bump those totals up. Even here in Orlando, we could see some spots with 10 inches of rain.
All right, Brian, thank you. And again, Brian talking about especially the downed trees. One of the big impacts power outages. Seen about 1.1 million outages right now, most of those over on the Gulf Coast. Few pockets in our area, including about 14,000 in Orange County, about 8,000 outages reported in Volusia County.
We need to talk about the Intracoastal bridges being closed here in about 15 minutes or so. Let's get to Maciel Leiva. She is in Volusia County right now. This is an important warning for anybody who might be taking the chance to try to leave at this time. It's a late hour to do that.
That's right, Tammy. As you can see right here, the conditions here in Daytona Beach have gotten worse. I am right now at the Volusia County Emergency Operations Center, and as you can see, the winds are picking up. You can see that in this plant right here next to me, and the rain is coming down. At this point, we know that Volusia County went into a curfew that was enacted starting at 8 p.m. and then it lasts until tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thursday. So by this point, you should already be in a safe place. And as Tammy mentioned, those intracoastal bridges are going to be closing at 9:30 p.m. tonight. So at this point, there shouldn't be anyone on the streets, on the roads driving, only law enforcement personnel and those emergency responders at this point of the night. And one of the biggest concerns here in Volusia County, as we have seen over the past couple of weeks, is flooding, as we are expected to see from 8 to 12 inches of rain. So please stay safe. If at this point right now you're at home, stay hunkered down, do not go outside, stay safe as we ride this storm. Live in Daytona Beach, Maciel Leiva, Spectrum News.
All right, Maciel, thank you for that live report. Continuing our storm coverage now, we go to Orange County.
Yeah, Spectrum News 13's Curtis McLeod joining us live tonight from the Emergency Operations Center. So, Curtis, obviously they are on full alert. What are local leaders telling you about how they're keeping tabs on the storm and, of course, getting ready for immediate response?
Yeah, you know, Greg, Tammy, good evening to you. Emergency leaders here, of course, county leaders working diligently to keep a pulse on everything that's happening here. In fact, they're doing it in a pretty relatively brand new facility. Joining me right now, Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings. Thank you for taking the time, sir. I know it's a busy time for everybody here. Can you tell us a little bit about this Emergency Operations Center? I understand you guys first went online here at the end of February.
Yes, this is a relatively new facility, about $4.2 million reinvested in state-of-the-art technology here within the center. This is a collaboration of community resources all under one hat. There's about 250 people who are working around the clock in this building to make certain that we respond appropriately to the storm. They represent individuals from our municipalities, from our energy companies, to Visit Orlando, to Public Works, and the goal here is to make certain that everything that we need to coordinate in the way of a response, emergency response within this community, is done in a very structured and timely manner.
Now, I know that Eyewall just coming ashore here, of course, in Sarasota Key, some, miles and miles away from here. But how are you guys preparing now to ensure that things will be okay when that storm starts, the remnants start moving towards up I-4 in this area?
As you know, even though the eye of the storm is coming ashore south and west of here, it is still within the cone of the overall breadth of the storm that is impacting us. We will certainly have some impacts with wind and rain as a result of this major storm. Our goal is to not only make sure that we respond appropriately from a first response, but even after a post-storm, there will be a number of things that will happen that will require us to coordinate, including responding to any localized flooding, trees down, etc. That takes a coordinated effort, and the individuals who are in here are working 24 hours now. They pretty much go on and work 12-hour shifts, and then we have a group that kind of relieves them. We have another facility where they can go and they can get some rest, and then they come back on and cycle in, because once they're here, typically at this stage of the storm, they really can't leave because they may not be able to come back because of the high sustained winds and the wind gusts.
Mr. Mayor Jerry Demings for Orange County, we appreciate you taking the time to show us this facility, the first television station in Central Florida to bring this to you. We appreciate it, Mr. Mayor, so much. And of course, we're going to be out throughout the county here for the rest of the evening, Orla Vista area, those flood-prone areas, and continue to bring you the very latest. Live in Orange County, I'm Curtis McLeod, Spectrum News.
And again, a lot of advice to heed here is let the first responders get through. We do have much more coming up as we continue to track Hurricane Milton and everything you need to know about the timing and the warning for post-storm. Thank you for joining us. We're back with you in a moment.
Marine forecast every hour at 21 past the hour.
The following portion of Spectrum News 13 is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
An injured worker left me a message that said, "You probably won't call me back. I'm just a nobody." I called him right back. Nobody's a nobody.
When Morgan said nobody is a nobody, I felt like that. And they took care of me, and now we're doing okay.
At Spectrum, we understand the value of staying connected to your passion, work, and ideas. That's why we combined the fastest and most reliable internet with Spectrum Mobile to provide you with a seamless connection wherever creativity sparks. And now, as a Spectrum Internet customer, you get one line of Spectrum Mobile for a full year included with your service, with unlimited talk, text, and data. Call 1-833-951-1261. With Spectrum Mobile, the nation's fastest growing mobile provider, you get a fast, reliable connection you can count on to bring your ideas to life when you need it most. Stay seamlessly connected with one line of Spectrum Mobile for a full year included with your internet service with no contracts or additional costs. Call 1-833-951-1261. With Spectrum Internet and Spectrum Mobile, get a fast, reliable, and seamless connection wherever you are.
Buying a season pass to FunSpot was the best decision ever. Unlimited rides, no blackouts, plus access to all 3 parks makes FunSpot my weekly go-to. Thursdays are for racing. You're going down, Jordo. Friday and Saturday nights are all about the coasters, the Midway, and the food. Scan the code for your season pass. Go ahead. You know you want to. FunSpot, where fun hits the spot.
The most important part of anyone's injury case is the firm you hire. You see, all law firms are not the same. Our firm has recovered billions and billions for clients. Injured, there's only one Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Appreciate you being with us here on Spectrum News 13. We are going to get another update on Hurricane Milton from Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick and our team in just a moment, but I want to head to Lake County now.
That's right. Our Randy Roush is standing by there, and this is in the Tavares area. Looks like the rain and the winds have picked up.
Yeah, that's right, Tammy and Greg. The winds have really picked up. We've seen some strong gusts here over about the last 15, 20 minutes. Of course, with that Hurricane Milton coming ashore in Siesta Key, all we've been waiting for here is where that eye wall is going to end up and then how that's going to affect many of the surrounding communities throughout Central Florida, including the folks here in Tavares. Of course, we are surrounded by water. If you know this area, Lake Dora, Lake Eustis, right around us. So we've been watching the water levels here on many of the lakes because many of the homes here are built right along those large bodies of water. Let me step out and kind of get an idea of the winds kind of hitting us hard right now and just blowing through this suburban neighborhood through Tavares right now. Tough to tell you what those wind gusts have been over the last 15 or 20 minutes, but certainly strong. And I got to remind you, Tammy and Greg, we've been seeing pounding rain through much of this area since this afternoon. It's going to be really interesting to see the rainfall totals here by tomorrow morning, what these total up through in many of the neighborhoods across Lake County. So rain wind kind of the big story here, and I think it's going to only get worse as we move into the midnight hour and early morning hours. And again, depending how close those wind bands or rain bands and that wind gets to this particular area here in Lake County. Live here in Tavares, Randy Roush, Spectrum News.
Let's go ahead and give you another vantage point here. Again, we're seeing heavy rain and heavy wind across various parts of central Florida. This view here, Seminole County, a little hard to see some of the background there, some of the waterway. But again, you know, a nighttime storm, a lot of dangers that come with the nighttime storm. This is a view downtown Orlando, certainly a little more calm. You got a lot of tall buildings blocking some of the fierce winds that we may see in other portions here. And again, as the eye comes through central Florida, you don't want to go venturing out during that. There's a lot of hidden dangers, especially at nighttime. So you want to be able to stay hunkered down until crews can assess everything that's going on.
Step by step, we're going to continue to update you on this hurricane, Hurricane Milton. It has made landfall.
Much more to come here on Spectrum News 13.
At Bob Steele Chevy, your customer experience and our kindness is our priority. Just go to bobsteelchevy.com for our best prices. With lifetime warranties, free lifetime tire rotations, and oil changes for life. For real savings, see Steele before you make any deal.
Don't miss a great day of basketball and building bridges to the community. Join the Brevard Prevention Coalition and Hey Blue for the 6th Man Tournament. Watch local youth and officers from these agencies hit the court to play for prizes and to build lasting bonds. Bring your family and friends. Admission is free. The 6th Man Tournament, Saturday, October 12th at Cocoa High School. Tip-off is at 10 a.m. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit brevardprevention.org and click on events.
It's our last and final Columbus Day sale ever at Furniture Now in Melbourne. We're going out of business forever. Now through Columbus Day, extra discounts will be in effect store-wide. Prices slashed even lower than our already low going out of business prices. Prices slashed on every living room, dining room, and bedroom. Extra discounts on mattress sets, reclining furniture, and more. We'll do everything we can to sell as much as we can by end of business Columbus Day. Our last and final Columbus Day sale ever at Furniture Now in Melbourne. After more than a decade, going out of business forever.
My parents had the kind of love story you read about and see in movies, falling in love just before he had to go off and travel the world when he joined the service. That's why it was so important to find someone to look after him with as much care and kindness as Mom. Our dedicated team provides compassionate hospice and palliative care, ensuring your loved one's comfort and dignity. When your veteran needs care, compassion, and support, trust St. Francis Reflections.
Why is everybody switching to Bob Steele Chevy? It's our low prices, huge inventory, and free lifetime tire rotations and oil changes for life is why we're Brevard County Chevy store. And we'll always pay you top dollar for your trade, whether you buy from us or not. For real savings, see Steele before you make any deal.
Spectrum News 13 is brought to you by Fun Spot America. It's huge.
30 now on this Wednesday evening. Hurricane Milton making landfall in Florida this evening, now making its trek across the peninsula. Appreciate you being with us. I'm Greg Angel.
And I'm Tammy Fields. Hurricane Milton made landfall about an hour ago. We have team coverage right now across our state as Florida is hit with yet another major storm just weeks after Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, a Category 3 storm, and we've got some new tracking on the timeline of this storm. So want to begin here with our team of dual certified meteorologists who are, including our chief here, Brian, laying out, again, landfall and where the storm's going from here exactly. Brian? All right. We'll get back to Brian in just a moment. But again, Category 3 Milton making landfall near Siesta Key. Siesta Key about 8:30. Want to go about 60 miles north of Siesta Key, Hillsborough County, Tampa area. We've got Jeff Allen that's live for us. Jeff, you were on the Big Bend region about 2 weeks ago for the arrival of Helene. We saw a lot of damage in the Big Bend and also where you're at now. And so now they're dealing with Milton after Helene as well.
Yeah, and we were getting some of those heaviest winds and rains right now. We're on the campus of USF, about 20 miles north of downtown Tampa. And just what's kind of going through my mind is just with all this wind and rain right now, just thinking about what kind of damage is being done right now. And of course, we won't know the full scope of that probably until into the day tomorrow when the sun comes up and everything can be assessed. But we are facing the strongest part of this storm right now, moving through the Tampa area here right now. And the wind and the rain has just been pretty much relentless the last couple of hours here. Luckily haven't noticed too many limbs coming down, just some debris here and there, but it's really that rain, that nonstop rain on already saturated ground that has taken its toll on this area here. Of course, the campus and the wind's ramping up again now, but this campus obviously closed, shut down. Everybody's away from here, but we're up against a protected parking structure, and I can tell you just kind of the stormwater system here has been overwhelmed for quite a while now. Tonight we've seen just water bubbling up through these grates even inside the parking garage, and kind of those grates even getting bumped up by the water overflowing out of the stormwater system. So those systems can only handle so much, and they've gotten a lot of rain, and they're going to get a lot more before all of this is said and done. One thing we've noticed in the last about hour to two, we saw some USF police still kind of patrolling campus, keeping an eye on things. Well, we really haven't seen them the last couple hours. It's still, even at this point, not really safe for them to be out driving around. But of course, once this storm ramps down, we expect them to be back here to kind of assess what's going on. Power's still on here at the university. A lot of that's underground, but again, that wind and rain is relentless at this point. That's what it's looking like from here. The campus of USF in Tampa and Hillsborough County. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. I tell you, an hour's worth of coverage. It does a number on batteries. Back with a fresh battery, and I wanted to bring your attention to something I'm finding interesting, and you saw it in Jeff's story there, live shot. The wind is really cranking up, and with that, we're starting to see an increase in the power outages all across the western portions of the peninsula. Look at that, 260,000 without power, customers that is, here in Pinellas County alone, and the numbers are growing as the system starts to move to the east-northeast. We have over 16,000 without power here across parts of Lake County, down into Orange County, over 24,000 down into Polk County. So power outages are starting to come up, and as the core of the system, the core of Milton continues, let me get a look at Klystron 13 here, as it's coming on up to the east-northeast and the wind is cranking with all of the saturated ground. What's going to happen now is that the trees are going to start to topple, and with the trees starting to topple, they're going to come down on the power lines. With that said, power outages will become more widespread, even more so tonight through the overnight hours. So hopefully you've charged up all your batteries. We've got some fresh ones going here. Hopefully you've got yourself a way of getting alerted in the overnight for the potential for any warnings that may be issued, including flash flood warnings, because things are going to continue to go downhill here over the next couple of hours. Again, as I take a look at Klystron 13, the core of this hurricane right now is basically coming up, and it's going to traverse and move its way here across southern or far southern Polk County, far southern Osceola County, and southern Brevard County before it goes offshore. And that's going to kick the highest winds here into probably Kissimmee, extending back down toward Lakeland over the next hour to 2 hours. And that wind, some of it will translate up into the Orlando Metroplex here in a few hours. And we will start to see those winds sustain themselves 60, 70, 75 miles per hour with some of those higher gusts for a window. But then the wind stays up, and it's going to be very gusty as the eye moves away from us on the backside. And that's going to, unfortunately, again, kick up the rainfall and some of those trees that are coming down in saturated ground. Let me come up here just a little bit closer and show you once again what we've got going on is a huge swath of very heavy rainfall extending from Lakeland all the way back up toward Deltona, Daytona Beach, and all points in between. This is the area now setting up for what could be, Tammy and Greg, 1 to 2 feet of rain in some spots, and flash flood warnings are going to take us through the overnight hours. It's going to be a bit of a long night ahead of us, but you know what? 12, 14 hours from now, things are going to start to improve.
Brian, let me ask you this, and I'm going to preface this as we know that a lot of Central Floridians are watching, but we also have a lot of people joining us who have evacuated from the coast. We also have a lot of people streaming online, watching out for loved ones here. We heard from Greg Pallone's live shot earlier. The woman talking about the water came up fast. We see, for example, Tampa Bay, some of the water kind of getting sucked out of the bay really fast. Walk us through, for people who may not understand the directional and the change, what's going on north side of the storm, south side of the storm, where the water is going and how fast it's moving.
As far as rainfall, are you talking storm surge on that?
Storm surge for folks on the West Coast.
On the West Coast, the storm surge is on the north side of this. The storm surge is not too bad. It's coming up, but anywhere from Siesta Key, Venice, southward, that surge is coming in and pushing the water up. And Fort Myers is still seeing the water coming up. Where that storm surge peaks as far as height, at this point, not going to make much of a difference because we've got so much water already coming toward the coast. And so anywhere from, again, I'd say Venice southward to Fort Myers, we're going to have storm surge that is going to be potentially up over 10 feet. I am 5 foot 10 inches tall. A 6 foot surge is over my head, okay? If you have a house with 8 to 10 foot ceilings, you're standing there right now in your living room, you're looking up, just think of your entire living room full of water. 10 feet. The 15-foot surge, if we were to see any of these gauges on our West Coast reach 15 feet, most homes are going to have a 15-foot roof line on a one-story, okay? And imagine the water all the way up to the top of the roof. So, Greg, that's what's coming in. The water is coming in fast, and especially from Venice southward. On our East Coast, I do want to alert you to the fact that we have been watching the surge and the potential that we will see 3 to 5 and maybe 6 foot surge even on our East Coast tomorrow morning, Flagler, Volusia, and down to Brevard County. So those of you who live on some of the barrier islands and or have dealt with flooding in past storms like Nicole, keep in mind 3, 5, 6 foot. I'm 6 foot tall. That's what's going to come up and on our shores. The peak time for that will unfortunately kind of level with, I'd say, some of our higher tides tonight. And so we're going to have to keep an eye on coastal beach erosion and the potential for coastal flooding. Greg and Tammy?
And if I can also ask you here, you know, something, as we were coming into this, we were hearing from a number of people who have lived here for many, many years, talk about Hurricane Charlie, for example, in 2004.
Right.
Can you draw some of the contrasts and comparisons between, say Charlie and this storm here, and any similarities and differences? Will this be one that we remember like Charlie?
Well, a couple things with Charlie. It did come right up and over the I-4 corridor. This one will stay south, well south of the I-4 corridor. With Charlie, we had an initial round of a whole bunch of tornadoes that did a whole bunch of damage. And I recall hearing the comment, Blue Tarp City. And unfortunately, that's what it was around the area because of roof damage, all the blue tarps. This particular storm, Milton, came on shore as a Cat 3. It's going to be a Cat 2 coming into far southern Polk County, but it's going to weaken rapidly, Cat 1 into southern Osceola, and probably coming into southern Brevard as a Cat 1. But the tornado threat has greatly diminished with Milton. We had a very, very busy afternoon. Right now, at least, 19 confirmed tornadoes. Some of these were large tornadoes, all off to our south and east. We had the tornadoes that came up and into Osceola and Brevard County with damage, but the tornado threat has greatly decreased as this has now made landfall and is crossing the state. And so in that respect, Charlie was full of tornadoes that came across the area, did all the damage. That threat has diminished. Greg, Tammy, this one, though, is going to be different in Charlie because this one's going to bring the potential for some really extensive flash flooding. All of this heavy rainfall is falling on saturated ground, and this is going to be with us for the next several hours. Again, some spots 1 to 2 feet of rain. Charlie didn't bring that kind of rain with it. But overall, this system is making its mark, and unfortunately, it's going to leave that mark in the form of widespread tree damage, extensive flooding, and widespread power outages through the overnight hours. But again, we're here for you. We're walking you through this one as calmly as we can. We've got all the same emotions that you have at home. I've got family and friends that are watching right now, right here in Orlando. And so we're walking through this with the same emotions you are. We're going to get through it. Greg and Tammy, tomorrow, a different day. Cleanup begins in earnest. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that weather looks absolutely gorgeous.
All right, we'll get there and hoping for the best. Brian,
exactly.
Thank you.
Stay up to date with Spectrum News 13 storm coverage of Hurricane Milton by downloading the Spectrum app. We now have lifted all restrictions on this app, so even if you're not a Spectrum customer, perhaps you're out of state, you can still be able to stream this live coverage. Family and friends can, and receive updates too before, during, and after this storm.
Well, during Governor DeSantis' latest update, that was at about 7:30 this evening, the governor spoke about the impacts that we are expected to see here in Central Florida.
One of his biggest focal points was storm surge after the storm, something that Brian was just talking about.
I do think north of the storm there's a lot of precipitation. I think you're going to see inland flooding in Central Florida, North Central Florida. I think you're going to see storm surge in Northeast Florida, places like Daytona Beach, Flagler Beach, St. Johns County. I think you will see that coming on the backside of the storm. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But bottom line is we have the resources amassed. We'll use all that we need. But yes, I hope I can just send a bunch of them home to say, you know, we got the job done.
There are a few factors that come into play when talking about storm surge. Wind speed, storm size, pressure are a few key factors.
Well, we are covering this from many different angles, and we do have a lot of different reporters on the ground, and we are continuing to keep track of everything. Seminole County, for example, one of the places where it is all hands on deck. Spectrum News 13's Devin Martin, live for us tonight out in that area. Devin, what are you seeing there in Seminole County?
Hey, Greg, good evening. Yes, as we're out here, the rain continues to fall and the wind continues to pick up. Alan Harris is the emergency manager for Seminole County, and he told me not too long ago they are expecting more rain. Right now, he tells me that they're monitoring the swelling of rivers and creeks countywide inside this room. Alan says him and his team are in this for the long haul, making sure residents are in the know about what's happening countywide.
Kind of what we anticipated, limbs down, trees down. We know that that's going to happen. Power outage is starting. It's very low right now, but we anticipate it's going to be much, much greater by morning. We're at localized flooding. We know that that's going to get worse as the night goes on and into the morning. We're going to see some pretty serious flooding based on the forecast, every forecast that we've seen so far.
Alan says it's also important to not lose sight of what's important, the people around you. Check in on your neighbors, your friends, and your family to make sure that they're doing okay during this time as we're all trying to get through this the best way we can. Live in Seminole County, Devin Martin, Spectrum News.
Thank you, Devin. Well, this video shows an apparent tornado near Clewiston, about 60 miles east of Fort Myers. Take a look at that. Incredible.
Possible tornado as well in Fort Myers, caught on a security camera. Take a look at this. And again, just severe weather here. Video, it just, again, it's unpredictable, and that's what pulls, a lot of stress for a lot of folks. This here is video from a sail drone inside Hurricane Milton. It's exactly what it sounds like. This is about 40 miles outside the center of the storm. Sail drone reported wave heights of 28 feet with wind gusts as strong as 75 miles an hour.
Right now, a live look again at the Sanford Marina to check the conditions that are happening there at this very hour.
All right, want to change our focus, want to go to Osceola County. Osceola County does have a curfew in place, as does a few other counties. Flagler County has a curfew. Volusia County has a curfew in place. We also have a short time ago all those intracoastal bridges in Volusia County that were also closed as of 9:30 as well.
I'm Maria Serrano. She is standing by tracking conditions. I should say we should get to her in just a second. We do want to go and see what this storm looks like from outer space. Take a look at this. We were talking about this earlier today, Greg. Absolutely fascinating look here at the storm from space.
From the Crew Dragon here, and of course members of the Crew 8 hoping to return soon after this storm. So that is something that they are looking forward to. But again, we got to make sure that the storm makes it out of here and we see exactly how this storm does. And Tammy, we know that there is a lot of stress that comes with storms and situations like this.
It does. Imagine being in this storm situation for the second time now after Hurricane Helene. Well, processing the news, assessing the damage from Hurricane Helene, it was cut short for those who needed to pivot and prepare for this storm, Hurricane Milton. We were able to speak with a mental health expert about how to best take in the news this storm season.
Trying to really focus on what we can control and the situation in our little realm of the world. And after that, how we can help other people.
Remember that help is always available. There is always someone for you to talk to. You can dial 988 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to connect with a counselor in your area through the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
All right, people, property, pets, animals, you want to make sure it is all ready to go. Checking in with folks at Florida Aquarium. They have relocated endangered coral and a sea turtle that washed inland by Hurricane Helene. Penguins have also been moved. More than 4,000 juvenile corals and more than 100 brood stock are being sent to Atlanta, Key Biscayne, and West Palm Beach, including coral that was rescued from a marine heat wave in the Florida Keys in 2023. And a sea turtle found after Hurricane Helene is being moved from Apollo Beach to the Florida Aquarium's Tampa campus, which can keep it safe up on their second floor. So a lot of folks with a lot of efforts. We've got zoos and theme parks and a lot of different places trying to keep people and animals protected here.
Let's take a live look right now out at Cocoa Beach. This is Shepherd Park.
It is dark.
Yeah, it is. You see a few flashes there in the distance. But again, just showing you what the conditions are looking like right now. You can see the waves there to the right of your screen really, really whipping up and whipping the shoreline too. That's the situation if you're just joining us. Hurricane Milton made landfall at Siesta Key at 8:30 tonight, and we're already seeing damage.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Bears Furniture. If you can dream it, Bears can help you design it. There's no place like Bears.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices. Streaming live 24/7, plus on-demand weather forecasts. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News, your community connection, exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
It's the hardest conversation I have with patients, telling them that their baby won't make it. And now, because of Florida's extreme abortion ban, I also have to tell them I can't help. The ban forces women to wait until the brink of death to get care and could send doctors like me to prison just for treating my patients. That's terrifying. And it's why I'm voting yes on 4, to end the ban so government can't stop women from getting life-saving care.
Whether you're an active person that wants extra supplemental movement, maybe you want to keep your legs active while you work, or you wish to support your therapy at home, or you just want to build strength, increase your mobility, flexibility, and boost your circulation, Ellipse was made for you. Power-assisted exercise that frees your mind to enjoy your favorite seated activities. Just plug it in, place your feet, select your speed, and relax. Ellipse does all the work for you. Call now and order Ellipse.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Our firm is a family firm. John, my boys, and so many lawyers who have been our partners for so many years. We know that an accident or an injury can have terrible consequences for your family. We don't take your representation for granted, and every day we will work hard to never break that trust.
It is the only place that I would ever suggest anybody go. It makes you feel like you're worth something.
You're not just a number.
I felt like that. Thank God that I went to Morgan & Morgan.
Our family helping yours.
Welcome back to your Weather on the Ones. As we look at the latest on Hurricane Milton, wind speeds are at 115 miles per hour. And now I am waiting for the latest update. Should be coming in here in the next few minutes, and hopefully we'll see those wind speeds drop back quite a bit. Now I want to switch over to Kleinstrom 13 here and check out the wind speeds, because we do have some strong winds that are pushing through parts of Lake County at this point, and I have seen some gusts up to 50, 40, 48, 51 miles per hour, even down near the Four Corners area, gusts over 40 miles per hour. And I'm also seeing some higher gusts here along the East Coast as well. And we did get a report in the Leesburg area, a gust to 71. So we are starting to see those potential wind gusts picking up quite a bit. And as we switch over to our radar picture and put this into motion, we do have still some heavier showers that are pushing across the area. A little bit of a break, at least from the rain here in Brevard County, but there are some strong winds still to come. And we do have some of those heavier showers and a few strong bands and that are pushing into Southern Lake, Orange County, as well as down into Polk County. This is sliding off to the northeast and will be bringing some heavy rain here for the next several hours to areas in its path. And in fact, I do want to check out the rainfall totals because we do have those flash flood warnings that are in effect. So as we check out the last 3 hours here, you can see there is quite a bit of rain in southern Sumter County as well as southern Lake County, even up toward the Turnpike near Claremont. There have been several inches of rain that have already come down, and it continues to fall. So not only are we looking at that concern with the high wind gusts, but that potential for some flooding. We're already seeing that in a few areas. Now, as we check out the track, again, it's going to push across the state here for the next few hours, hopefully weakening quite a bit as it does so. But regardless, we're feeling those impacts and will continue to do so as we head into tomorrow morning. By the afternoon, it will start to pull away. Our conditions will gradually improve, but we still got about 12 more hours to get through this, and we will. Here's a look at our wind speeds and gusts. 63 mile an hour gust for Leesburg. We do have a 64 mile an hour gust in Daytona Beach, 47 in Sanford, 55 in Orlando. And these winds have really been ticking up. And here's a look at the accumulation. Quite a bit of rain over the last 6 hours for all of Central Florida. That's why we do have those flash flood warnings that are in effect. And we are expected to get in some areas potentially up to a foot of rain before this system is completely done. And that is not completely out of the question. And that is our biggest concern, that flooding along with the wind. We are still in a decent risk that we could see those strong wind gusts, and that along with the rain will help to knock power out, and the trees will come down. So that is our biggest concern here. So look at Leesburg, the impacts over the next few hours. We could see gusts over 60 miles per hour, several inches of rain, even up to a foot. Orlando area through tomorrow morning, 55 plus for those wind gusts, 4 to 8 inches of rainfall, and even into Flagler Beach. Not only are we looking at some strong gusts and heavy rain, potentially up to 2 feet, but there is also that storm surge threat between 4 to 5 feet in the Flagler Beach area that will continue into tomorrow. Tammy and Greg.
All right, Mallory, thank you. And again, wide-ranging impacts here. Something a lot of folks may end up seeing as some power outages.
That's right. It's an ongoing issue, and it's probably only going to get worse. Our Sasha Tiemann is joining us here in the studio with some statistics on an update of more what it looks like.
Yeah, good evening, Tammy and Greg. Now, as of 9:30 p.m. tonight, there were about 1.2 million customers without power in the state of Florida. Now, with over 288,000 of those in the West Coast area where Hurricane Milton made landfall about an hour ago, right near Siesta Key. Now, to give you those numbers, we're taking a look at 3 electric providers that have seen the most power outages tonight. Now, that's FPL, Duke Energy, and Tampa Electric. Now, we can see that the bulk of those power outages are on Florida's West Coast, with over 288,000 outages in Pinellas County right now, and over 160,000 power outages in Sarasota County, according to FPL's Power Tracker. And reminder, that's where Hurricane Milton made landfall just over an hour ago. Now, if we move eastward towards Central Florida, we've really seen those numbers tick up in the last hour. Duke Energy's outage map is nearing the 34,000 mark of customers without power. Now, those outages are scattered across our different counties, extending from Sumter County in western Central Florida to the East Coast near Volusia County. Now, the majority of the outages that we are seeing right now, though, are in Marion County with over 11,000 outages, and right here, actually, in Orange County, also nearing that 11,000 mark. Now, reminder that Duke Energy predicted that there would be over 1 million power outages for the state of Florida as a result of this hurricane, and it looks like we've already hit that target. But we're going to keep updating you throughout the night on what these power outages are going to look like, especially now that winds are picking up since Milton's landfall.
All right, Sasha Tiemann live for us here. Thank you. And of course, with the power outages, good reminder, go ahead and make sure batteries are fresh and you know, mobile devices and all that good stuff is
Our
good to go.
charge, yeah. Well, damage from an apparent tornado in Fort Myers to tell you about in southwest Florida along the Gulf Coast. This tornado ripped roofs off homes, brought down trees and power lines. We'll show you some of that video shortly.
And of course, we are going to be with you every step of the way throughout this hurricane. And again, you see here some of the damage that we are seeing. And so more with you coming up in just a moment.
Fans love their teams and their sports. Now you can make your bar or restaurant a fan favorite. Get more local, regional, and national sports with Sports Fan TV from Spectrum Business for only $59.99 per month. No matter how many fans you can pack in, that's more games, more fans, more savings. Get Spectrum Business Sports Fan TV today for only $59.99 per month and save your business over $3,000. Visit spectrum.com/sports savings to learn how.
At Lazy Days, take a break and kick your feet up with unbeatable savings on a wide selection of RVs from your favorite brands. Relax in a brand new travel trailer under $15,000 or a new fifth wheel under $40,000. Lazy Days is celebrating with work hard, play hard pricing and payments as low as $115 a month. With thousands of RVs to choose from, Lazy Days has an RV for every lifestyle and budget. Visit lazydays.com today. Lazy Days of Fort Pierce, I-95 exit 129.
Thank you so much for the care and kindness shown to our mother.
Your attention to Pops greatly assisted his peaceful and painless transition, which gave us comfort.
Everyone has been so kind, loving, and compassionate.
And thank you for taking care of us, too.
I could not have managed without you. Our dedicated team provides compassionate hospice and palliative care, ensuring your loved one's comfort and dignity. When you need care, compassion, and support, trust St. Francis Reflections.
Today, I will rise. Opportunity is mine for the taking. No attaboys, no pats on the head, nobody paving the way. Today, I will blaze this trail. No handouts, no looking back. Today, I will win. Because whatever challenge comes my way, the outcome is I overcome. Salazar Roofing, arise and go.
When you're injured in an accident, you need a lawyer who does two things at all times, works for you and listens to you. Snedeker Law, putting the personal back in personal injury.
Weather on the Ones, every 10 minutes. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Continuing our coverage of Hurricane Milton making landfall in Florida and continuing its trek across central Florida. And we have a lot of people joining us here, and we appreciate you being with us. I'm Greg Angel.
And I'm Tammy Fields. We have team coverage tonight across the state of Florida as the Sunshine State is hit with yet another major storm just weeks after Hurricane Helene. I want to kick things off at the top of the hour with our team of dual certified meteorologists. We have Mallory Nichols as well as our chief meteorologist standing by, Brian Carrick.
Hey, Tammy and Greg. We had the storm make landfall tonight, 8:30 over at Siesta Key. Obviously, now that it's on land, starting to weaken a bit, and you said the winds are coming down, right?
Yeah, the latest update that just came in, winds are down to 110. Now, that's not a big difference from the last hour. This is still a strong hurricane, but we're down to a Category 2 now.
And it's going to continue to weaken as it crosses the peninsula tonight. Yeah. The big threat for us is going to be the heavy rain.
The heavy rain, and once all that rain comes down, we've got the strong wind gusts, power outages, trees coming down. This is not quite done yet, but we're getting through it. It's going a lot faster than we wanted, or not that we wanted, but that we thought was going to happen originally. So it's going to get out of here a little bit sooner. That's the good news.
There is some light at the end of that tunnel. We just have to get through the next several hours. It's going to be a little bit rough, but on radar right now, Clystron 13, as we've been watching tonight, has been showing this storm still producing some heavy rain. Milton's eye is sitting down to our south. It's going to continue its path off to the south. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and take us over to Clystron 9, our sister station, Spectrum Bay News 9's radar, to give you a look at where the eye of this is currently sitting as it's on shore now. And it's kind of a little more diffuse now, and that's some good news because that means it is continuing to weaken. But as it's moving off to the east-northeast, it's going to come up over southern Polk, southern Osceola, and Brevard County. And as it's doing so, going to continue to bring with it some tremendous amounts of rainfall just north of the eye. We may end up bringing some of the higher totals down a little closer to Sumter Lake, Seminole, and Volusia County. We're thinking Flagler, but in any case, there will be a swath of rainfall across parts of central Florida, Tammy and Greg, that will run between about a foot to possibly upwards of 2 feet. We're going to continue to have the very latest on the extreme winds that are coming into some neighborhoods, especially out to our west. As a matter of fact, I believe we had a wind gust over 70 miles per hour up in Leesburg a short time ago. So as those winds are increasing, we'll kind of time out the wind for you, find out when we are finally going to kick Milton out of our picture, and have a look at what looks like a wonderful weekend ahead, the forecast straight ahead.
All right, Brian and Mallory, thank you. Continuing our coverage now in Hillsborough County with Asher Wildman. Asher, what do you see now at this hour, just after 10 o'clock?
Greg, Tammy, well, I can tell you this. We are still seeing some strong winds out here in Hillsborough County. Last hour we were here, I told you about this sign that came down, and I want to show you just how strong the winds were. We were told we had a peak wind gust of 82 miles an hour. But I mean, you are talking about some solid metal cutting in half. Take a look at where this split right here at the street sign. All right, and get a good close-up of that to see how it split, but let me show you where it was. So that's the rest of the sign that we had here. Now, as you can see, the wind gusts are not as strong as they were last hour. They're still picking up here and there. We are without power. We've heard a lot of transformers blow in the last couple of hours. The building that I am in has lost power. Behind me, I honestly, I'm not sure if these are emerging lights or maybe they have a generator on, but the surrounding buildings around me do not have power. And also you can see the street lights here in the Tampa Heights part of town also do not have power. So aside from the wind, there were so many things that we were focusing on in this part of the state. And let's talk about the drains for a moment, because a lot of talk coming into Milton was, were they going to be able to pick up the debris? Not just the yard debris, but the debris that was left over from damaged homes following Helene. Mattresses are out in yards, drywall, dining room tables, you name it, it's out there. And if the wind gusts move that stuff around and clog drains, just to give you an idea how much water we're dealing with right now, all right, if you can hear it, it sounds like a water rap. I'm going to put my mic down to it. This is a lot of water moving around, which is why it's imperative that the storm drains are kept clear. As far as power outages go, we are continuing to see more and more power outages happening around Hillsborough County, around Tampa. I know you guys have been reporting on them as well. But as far as what we're seeing now, also the amount of rainfall, finally the roads are starting to get some flooding on them. We're still waiting to see what kind of surge we're going to see down at the bottom of 7th Avenue from Tampa Bay. But as far as everything that's happening here tonight, we're really not going to have a real good sense of it till tomorrow morning. A, to see how many people are still without power. B, where all that debris now is from other people's yards and where it's ended up. And then see how those flooded areas that we're told, or those areas that we're expecting to flood when those folks evacuated, what they're going to look like come tomorrow, whether it's along the Hillsborough River or down by the bay. So there's so much here to really take a keen eye on what we're following with Milton. I know it's getting late now, but as the sun comes out tomorrow, we're going to have a better gauge of it. But that's why so many things to pay attention to out here on the west coast of Florida. Reporting live in Tampa Heights, Asher Wildman, Spectrum News.
Asher, thank you. Let's go to the East Coast now. Greg Pallone live for us now in Brevard County with photojournalist John Shaban. Greg, share with us what you are seeing from your vantage point.
Hi, good evening again, Greg. Yes, so we are in Palm Bay now, off of Palm Bay Road near I-95, and the wind's certainly picking up over the last hour or two. We've had some pretty good gusts happening just in the last couple of minutes as well here in this area. So we expect that to get worse as the evening and the overnight goes on. But we have been showing you throughout the evening some serious flooding that happened in South Brevard County down in Grant-Valcaria. They'll show you that video now of the River's Edge Inn. This is a small motel that essentially just got walloped by those first bands of this hurricane coming through. Just flooding that property, about a foot or maybe even more of rain. It did flood out many of those units. About 9 people had to be evacuated and taken to a local shelter. One man was hurt as he slipped in the floodwaters, and also we saw some pets being rescued as well as people were trying to navigate their way up to US 1 through those floodwaters. We did talk to the property manager. She's been there for about 13, 14 years, and she has never seen anything like this.
It was like a flash flooding, just quickly, and then the water started rising within seconds in the rooms.
And again, she actually, her son and their dog evacuated. She evacuated just about an hour after that, after making sure the property was secure, the people were out, and all that. So we're expecting to see more flooding in the area. We've heard some of those pockets here around us. We're getting some of those rain bands. Not raining at the current moment. Also seeing some damage up at the Cocoa Beach area. Some homes damaged. A bank, its roof ripped off after strong winds came through earlier this evening there in Cocoa Beach, and also some inland flooding more in the Merritt Island area. Have not heard any damage reports of anywhere in the north part of the county, say Titusville or Mims. But again, there are some power outages going on here as well, and they probably will mount as these winds and some more of these rain bands come in. Greg and Tammy, back to you.
All right, Greg Pallone live for us in Brevard County. Thank you. Not far from there, Sumter County. They have now suspended all emergency services because the conditions are too hazardous to respond there. And again, as Central Florida experiences impacts from Milton as we get deeper here into the night, state officials are making it known that they have been proactively working ahead of landfall.
Yeah, we've seen numerous news conferences about this week. Governor Ron DeSantis, he spoke about those efforts, though, just after 7:30 tonight. He also shed some light on what the response will look like immediately after the storm.
Prior to landfall, the state completed nearly 2,000 missions. Generators were sent to shelters. We have massive amounts of fuel reserves that are staged and ready to go, millions of gallons of gas. When the ports reopen, Florida Highway Patrol will be standing by to escort fuel trucks to service stations so that people will have access to fuel as they return to their homes. The Florida Department of Transportation is staged and ready to go as soon as the storm passes. They have 156 bridge inspectors which will go to clear the bridges.
Earlier in the day, Florida's Department of Transportation posted some photos of their crews spread out across Central Florida. The post on social media says that these crews are ready to assess damage and start immediate repairs if needed.
President Joe Biden is keeping tabs on Hurricane Milton. Earlier this week, he announced that he was postponing his trip to Germany and Angola.
Here's his message about help for Florida earlier today.
We've already directed the Department of Defense to be ready to provide active duty service members to support Florida after the storm surge if Governor DeSantis requests the help, which I expect he might.
He says FEMA is also ready to respond. Just this morning, FEMA's administrator, Deanne Criswell, said that she spoke with Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer this morning and says that she will stay in touch with him throughout the duration of the storm. She says she also followed up with Governor Ron DeSantis to make sure that the state of Florida has all of the resources that might be needed.
And want to let you know that we are also with you throughout the storm here. We know there's a lot of people, even with loved ones out of state, who are joining us here. Gaylord, Michigan to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Been hearing from a lot of folks trying to keep tabs on what's happening here. So the free Spectrum News app, no login required. All the restrictions have been lifted so you can continue to get our coverage with you on the go from our reporters and our team of dual certified meteorologists.
10:11 right now. Let's go right back over to the Weather Center and check in with Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick. What's the latest with this storm?
Tammy, winds are down to 110 as the storm is still crossing land. Going to continue to bring those winds down through the next several hours. It's moving east-northeast at 16, so a pretty good clip. And notice it's coming up now a little closer to southern Polk County. It's going to come up over central or southern sections of Osceola County and then eventually central and southern Brevard County and then offshore before sunrise. As a matter of fact, at its current pace, it'll be offshore in probably about 5 hours or so. So the system, as it's continuing to crank back some wind, the wind is picking up across the area. Let's take you out to our Greenway Kia camera here and looking back toward Wall Street Plaza. Been keeping an eye on the trees that are starting to whip around. As a matter of fact, we're seeing winds that are going to start taking some of those trees down. Gusts recently close to 70 miles per hour here in Leesburg. Notice that 69 mile per hour gust, but earlier about a 74 mile per hour gust. We've also had gusts that have approached 50, 60 miles per hour in Sanford down to about 43, close to 60 out at Daytona Beach. Rainfall has been tremendous in some areas, and we have hours of rain ahead of us. Notice the red shaded areas coming into southern Sumter, southern Lake County, where we picked over 6 or 7, 8 inches of rainfall in just the past 6 hours. Everything in orange has seen anywhere between 3 and 5 inches already, taking us through Orange, Seminole, back into parts of Volusia, and into Brevard County. So we already have some flooding underway. Unfortunately, we have a lot more rain on the way as well, and this map may need to be adjusted a touch. We have some spots that could end up with between 1.5 feet and 2 feet of rain. Notice the bullseyes coming across Flagler County. We may have to pull that a little bit more to the south into Volusia County, and we're going to have a very sizable area between 12 and 18 inches of rain, 8 to 12 that drops down even into Seminole, parts of Orange County. Take you back to Ian a couple of years ago. We had the flash flood emergencies. Unfortunately, could see some of that overnight as well, as we still have a tremendous amount of rain ahead of us. As a matter of fact, here for Leesburg, we're going to 8 to 12 inches for you, 8 to 12 inches of rain. I'm going to bump this up in Orlando, probably more along the lines of 6 to 9 inches with some isolated 10-inch amounts even here in Orlando. And we'll pull the numbers down a little bit for you, Flagler Beach, but still anywhere from probably 12 to 15 inches of rain for you. But our concern on our East Coast is a growing concern of storm surge. 4 to 5 feet Flagler and even northern Volusia County, 3 to 5 feet all the way down to the Brevard County coast. So obviously a lot ahead of us still tonight, but Greg and Tammy, we're here to take you through the overnight hours. Mallory and I are here, Chris and Zach getting a break. Maureen McCann will be in overnight as well. And we'll walk you through as the winds increase and the rainfall continues to fall.
All right, Brian, thank you. And again, I know you guys are continuing to emphasize the water, the rain. Let's continue our coverage now on the coast, where storm surge is certainly going to be a concern over the coming hours.
Our Maciel Leyva, she's joining us from Volusia County. Maciel, first responders are on standby tonight for potential water rescues, and they have some special equipment in order to do so.
That's right, Tammy and Greg. As you can see right here, conditions have definitely deteriorated over the last couple of hours. The rain is coming down stronger and the winds are really picking up right now. We have heard from the Emergency Operations Center here in Volusia County that they have about 90 workers right now active, responding to calls and to emergencies. We also stopped by before coming here by the Sheriff's Office training facility, where they have some high water rescue equipment ready to go and to respond to those calls, because we are expecting to see a lot of flooding in the area across Volusia County. Actually, the EOC has already confirmed to me that we have seen some confirmed flooding in South Deltona. So they are also reminding community members at this time that although the curfew also goes until 8 a.m. tomorrow, they want to make sure people know that if it's not safe to come out by 8 a.m. because of the conditions that we're going to see in the morning, please stay safe indoors if you can, and do not come out by any means. Do not go into flooded waters, because that could be dangerous. So as you can see right now, the winds are really picking up where we are. So at this point, you should not be outside by any means. The bridges are closed now because they close at 9:30 p.m. So if you're indoors, please stay safe. Please do not go outside at this time. Live in Daytona Beach, Maciel Leyva, Spectrum News.
Good advice, Maciel. We knew that at around noon today we were supposed to be staying hunkered down. So that's good advice, especially tonight that this storm has made landfall.
And as we've seen, had picked up pace, so come a lot quicker. Want to continue our coverage now in Orange County. We've got Curtis McLeod. He was at Emergency Operations Center last hour. Curtis, you are now joining us from Orlo Vista. And this particular area had been of concern during prior storms. How are things holding up with that major project nearing completion?
Well, Greg, yeah, so far things are pretty good out here in the Orlo Vista community. As you mentioned, we were at the Orange County EOC talking with Mayor Demings about some of the resources they have to help people should they need it. I want to show you here, the thing that we've been able to see here is we've seen this trench here, this drain kind of pool up with water here. That's what we've been seeing, some pooling and ponding of water here. This is Livingston Street in the Orlo Vista community. When we first got out here about 2-3 hours ago, a lot of water on this street here. We weren't even going to drive down through it just to be on the safe side. Of course, that old saying, turn around, don't drown, if you happen to see, water on some of the roads here. Again, so far things looking pretty good in Orlo Vista, save rain and wind throughout this area. Again, Mayor Demings telling people should they see flooding, they need to, not go into those waters. They do want people to call them so they can assess the areas, making sure that, of course, as you mentioned, Greg, that multi-million-dollar flood mitigation project is holding up. There is some pumps that are temporary, and they are working at this point in time. Again, we're going to do some more surveying just to double check, but what we've been seeing throughout the evening, things are looking to be pretty good here so far in the Orlo Vista community. I want to also mention, though, if you have to go out, you shouldn't be out. You need to be very mindful. Winds picking up across Orange County. We were driving back over here, and we did notice debris on the 408 as we were making our way back here to the Orlo Vista community. We're going to be out here the duration of the evening, bringing you the sights, of course, throughout Orange County. We are live in Orlo Vista this evening. I'm Curtis McLeod, Spectrum News.
Thank you so much, Curtis. Bridges in the Tampa Bay area are closed at this hour due to high winds. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge that you see here is closed to traffic in both directions. And I apologize, that is actually not the Skyway Bridge there. But we do know the Howard Franklin Bridge is closed, the westbound lanes of the Gandy Bridge are closed, and so is the westbound Courtney Campbell Causeway. They are all closed at this hour because of high winds. Now, Florida Highway Patrol, they have blocked these roadways off, and we will let you know when they reopen for traffic. Well, Tampa General Hospital, one of the largest hospitals in the Tampa Bay area, has installed the Aqua Fence again. It is surrounded by water. It's located on Davis Islands in downtown Tampa. The flood barrier can withstand, they say, up to 15 feet of storm surge. The hospital set up the fence for Hurricane Helene, which officials say did help protect the building. The hospital will stay open during Hurricane Milton.
Meanwhile, Tammy, over on the other coast, we have Health First Cape Canaveral Hospital that has evacuated patients and staff and shut down operations ahead of the storm. Health First shared some of the video here of the evacuation efforts yesterday. Safety precautions first here. Leaders say storm surge is the biggest concern as the hospital is located on the barrier island in Cocoa Beach. Nearly 36 patients have been relocated to different facilities, and the last time the hospital was evacuated was about 5 years ago during Hurricane Dorian.
A video, this is taken from a cell drone inside Hurricane Milton. Take a look at this. This was about 40 miles outside the center of the storm. Cell drone reported wave heights of 28 feet with wind gusts as strong as 75 miles per hour.
All right, we are coming up in just a moment, 10:21. We're going to get to Brian and the team in just a moment. But again, want to let folks know there are some curfews in place in multiple counties, Volusia County, Flagler County, and a few others. So please be mindful. We're not quite through the storm just yet. So let's go ahead and bring back in Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick and the entire team tracking those curfews in place, because, Brian, we still have a few hours of this storm to get through.
Yeah, several hours of heavy rainfall and flooding rainfall at that. At night, you're not going to necessarily see what's over the roadway. You may have roads underwater. You may have roads that have sinkholes because of the water. Just stay off the roads tonight. Obviously, curfews are in place for a reason. If you don't need to be out there, don't go out there. Let's take a look at Klystron 13. I do want to very quickly mention there is a flash flood emergency for those of you in southern Sumter County. 8 to 12 inches of rain that has already fallen. 8 to 12 inches has fallen in southern Sumter County, but that extends back across parts of Hillsborough County and points off to the west. So southern Sumter County, a flash flood emergency is in place. Again, this is for the potential for more rainfall on top of what is already afoot. I was just looking over, it includes Hernando, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, Polk, and Sumter County. So even parts of Polk County now in a flash flood emergency. That's the highest of flood concerns that we can see. So let's get over to Klystron 13. Bear with me here as I get you through what we've got. We've got Milton's Eye coming into Polk County now. Let me kind of circle the area. It's sitting just south of Lakeland now, and it has come down in winds. Winds are down to 110. I'll double check that. Might be coming down even more, and it's going to continue to come down. It's moving off to the east-northeast. It might be coming across central and southern Osceola, central and southern Brevard County on its current path. If I just kind of extrapolate out, the heavy rain that is coming down now is starting to encroach upon much of the Orlando Metroplex, extends all the way down the I-4 corridor. That's the heaviest core of rain. We're also seeing winds in this area in excess of 50 to 60, 65 to 70 miles per hour on our gusts. Let me zoom in a little bit closer here, point out some of the areas seeing the heaviest rain down toward Disney, down toward Celebration, also into Kissimmee and SeaWorld. This is all coming up across the Orlando metro area. Very, very heavy rainfall. Let's take a look at the rain totals, and there you go. This is just the past 3 hours. So rainfall that has come down just the northwest of Lakeland is, as I'm kind of taking a sample here, is running. Well, that's going to be underestimated. When the rain is coming down so heavily, radar can't keep up sometimes. So radar sometimes underestimate, and actually in a heavy rainfall event like this will underestimate rain coming out of the sky. So although it says 6.3 inches, that's probably at least 8, 9, maybe 10 inches out there in Polk County where that flash flood emergency is currently in play. Lakeland out toward, or I should say, Lake County out toward Groveland, Mascot, Claremont, 4 to 5 inches. Take you out just south of Four Corners or around the Four Corners, 3, 4, 5 inches for you. And now coming up the southwest side of Orange County here, 2, 3 inches of rain that has come out of the sky. And we have more on the way. So busy night ahead. We also have extreme wind warnings to the west. Those have been in place because of the eye coming on shore. There's our flash flood emergency, comes up into the far northern reaches of Polk County, and it kind of clips up and over southern Sumter County, including the Green Swamp. So if you live out in southern Sumter County, hopefully you've watched that water that may be near you. Get yourself to higher ground. We have flash flood warnings that are in place, so we get our way up to the north, kind of scattered about from Palatka through Crescent City down toward Pearson. Also looking at the very heavy rain coming across Marion County at this time, and the concern growing for some flooding there. So the rainfall threat has now been extreme in some spots and is going to continue the next several hours. The purple shaded area going to see between 8 to 12, and in some cases 2 feet of rain, 2 feet of rain. So we may be shifting this entire area a little bit more to the south because in some areas we've already exceeded what has been forecasted. More rain to come. And as I mentioned, Greg and Tammy, a flash flood emergency for southern Sumter County. I have a feeling, unfortunately, that won't be the last flash flood emergency we see tonight.
All right, Brian, appreciate that. And again, Brian been talking about the impact. So up to 1.6 million power outages right now at this point. Let's head to Lake County now. We've got Randy Roush continuing our live coverage here. Randy, what do you see now at this hour?
Hey, Greg and Tammy, boy, Lake County getting pounded with the rainfall. I heard Brian talking about the heavy rainfall, and he is on target. It is really, really blowing hard across Tavares and the surrounding communities, Eustis, Mount Dora, really, really blowing hard. And I'm not going to be surprised with some of those rainfall totals he was talking about, because if this continues, there is going to be a lot of flooding in this area if we see this for the next several hours. Wind gust, hard to say what they've been here. I'm going to guess between 40, 50 miles per hour at times. But again, that is only a guesstimate. As you guys have been suggesting, and other reporters around Central Florida have been telling you, stay inside. This is really the time that we're starting to really feel Milton, as that storm obviously made landfall there in Siesta Key and now is plowing across parts of Florida, Central Florida, and we're really feeling those rain bands moving through Lake County. So I'm going to toss it back to you right now. Starting to see a little water on the roadway here. We're in a suburban neighborhood here, and I suspect, again, we're going to see a lot of street flooding if this rain continues like this into the evening hours. Reporting live here in Tavares, Randy Roush, Spectrum News.
Randy, appreciate that. Thank you. Here's some video just coming in from the Villages area, and you can see again some really intense winds and rain. This is actually from certified meteorologist Chris Kilson's dad in the Villages area. Of course, it's dark, and the darkness, the storm at night, adding that layer of danger to the storm here. And so we want people to be safe, not to venture out into any of this.
Let's take a live look at downtown Orlando. This is a Wall Street Plaza. You know, this is a Wednesday night. Thursday nights, motorcycles, Friday nights, Saturday nights, always a poppin' place to be. But of course, people are heeding the warnings and they're staying off the streets. Everything is closed, so there literally is no reason to be out on the roadways tonight.
And with some of these vantage points, if you can, through your window or from your front door, the Spectrum News app has a great feature where you can share your photos and videos with us. Please be safe if you happen to share some video with us. Here's a really interesting video here from space, well above Earth, and this shows you the size of this storm. NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic taking this video from the Crew Dragon capsule. It's currently docked at the International Space Station, and he is going to be returning to Earth with Crew 8 once recovery conditions clear up after Hurricane Milton. So Space Coast has been busy, so they're going to get right back to it once this storm moves out of the way, which Brian and the team have been saying should be before sunrise in the morning. But again, we've got a few more hours to get through here. Governor DeSantis providing a few updates here throughout the day, including about 7:30 tonight, talking about some of the impacts here in Central Florida specifically.
One of his biggest focal points was flooding and storm surge after the storm.
I do think north of the storm there's a lot of precipitation. I think you're going to see inland flooding in Central Florida, North Central Florida. I think you're going to see storm surge in Northeast Florida, places like Daytona Beach, Flagler Beach, St. Johns County. I think you will see that coming on the backside of the storm. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But bottom line is we have the resources amassed. We'll use all that we need. But yes, I hope I can just send a bunch of them home to say, you know, we got the job done.
There are a few factors that come into play when talking about storm surge. We're talking about wind, speed, the storm size, pressure, and a few key factors as well.
All right, let's continue our coverage now with our meteorologist. Mallory Nichols is joining us now. And again, it's been a long couple days leading up to this point.
Yeah, it has. It's here now. We're getting through it. It is going faster than what was originally thought, which is good news. But we are still going to be dealing with the worst of the impacts here over the next several hours. And as we check out Klystron 13, you can see there is a heavy band that is pushing into parts of Osceola, Orange County, back into parts of Lake and Sumter counties where already several inches of rain have been picked up. More continues to fall in the area. And with some of these heavier showers does come some of those higher wind gusts as well. So that's what we're seeing at this point. I do want to check out some of the wind gusts here for you because I have seen some pretty high gusts at times, even up close to 70 miles per hour. We did get a report of 70-mile-an-hour winds that were in Leesburg not too long ago. So as I stop this and we get some of the estimates, it looks like western Orange County up to about 50 in spots, around 50-mile-an-hour winds in parts of Lake County, up to 40 in parts of Leesburg. That's the highest, and those winds will continue to pick up as these bands push across the area. Again, we're not only concerned with those strong winds, but that potential for some heavy rain that may cause some flooding in the area. So we're going to keep an eye on those locations, all that rain that continues to come down. Wind speeds around Milton still at 110 miles per hour, pushing to the east, northeast. And the eye of Milton is about to move into parts of Polk County, and then it will continue to push toward Osceola County. That's when Osceola County will see the strongest winds in about 2, 3, possibly 4 hours. Brevard County and into the Atlantic, that's when the strong winds are expected there. But I want to show you these purple boxes here. This is a flash flood emergency. Now, this is down toward the west coast, but does include a small portion in southern Sumter County, and it is getting very close to southern Lake County, Osceola County, the Four Corners area, where 8 to 12 inches of rain have already come down in the area. And it looks like that rain is continuing to fall. At this time, we actually have some pretty heavy showers that are pushing across the area right now. Now, wind gusts to close to 70 in Leesburg, 70 now for Daytona Beach, 60 in Sanford. We've got some sensors not showing up anymore. Not sure what's happened to those, but there is some high gusts out there that will continue for the next several hours. Tammy and Greg.
All right, Mallory, thank you. Heading to Lake County now, where folks have been getting ready throughout the evening. We'll get to Lake County, Volusia County, Osceola County in just a moment. We've got a lot of reporters, but let's head back to the West Coast. Jeff Allen joining us now from Hillsborough County.
Yeah, and Greg, it is really incredible. We've kind of taken shelter underneath a parking garage here on the campus of the University of South Florida because it's simply, we're getting the strongest part of Milton moving through the Tampa area right now, and it's not really safe to be out there. But even under here, we've still been feeling the strong winds, the heavy rain that have been blowing right through this garage. You can probably see it back there, all the kind of trees blowing around in the wind. But, you know, it's the rain that has just added up over hour after hour, just the relentless rain already on already saturated ground, and that's starting to take its toll. We were showing you earlier this drain over here, and this is what you're seeing all over campus here and a lot of this area of Tampa right now. The drains are just overwhelmed. Those stormwater systems are overwhelmed. It was kind of bubbling up there, and now it's kind of just been filling up here because there's simply just nowhere else for it to go. So even inside this strong parking lot structure, you're seeing kind of these effects from the storm. One of these parking lot dividers kind of blew over here because we've been getting these really strong winds that have even been coming into here, and you can kind of see some of that out there. It looks like some of the power here on campus here and there is starting to kind of go off, unfortunately. We've been seeing some kind of bright lights in the sky, a signal of maybe those transformers in the area kind of blowing the main part of the campus here. It looks like it still has power, but again, classes have been closed here. This campus has been shut down for a couple days now, at least through tomorrow, but you're seeing some of the effects as the strongest parts of Milton are going through the Tampa area right now. That's the latest from here in Tampa and Hillsborough County. Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
Thank you, Jeff. Lake County leaders, they are working around the clock, monitoring the impacts and trying to make sure that they are ready to respond to any emergencies there.
Yeah, I want to bring into the conversation here Nicholas Girth, Deputy Emergency Management Director with Lake County. Really appreciate it. Walk us through kind of at this hour, because we know some counties, they're not even responding to calls for help because conditions are too severe. What are y'all seeing where you're at?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're closely monitoring Milton as he progresses. Right now, we're seeing gusty winds, heavy rainfall, flooding roadways, as well as isolated power outages. So our public safety teams are closely monitoring that.
And Nicholas, are you responding at this hour if someone calls and says that they need help?
Our public safety is addressing that call by call. That's a determination that's being made here in the Emergency Operations Center and our dispatch center. I'm not directly aware of anything at the moment, but they're assessing the situation.
And of course, for a lot of our counties, it is not so much about the storm approaching, it's about getting ready for that, but then the response. What does the response look like after the storm passes? Obviously, you have to do a lot of assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. Assessments are going to be one of our top priorities first thing in the morning. Once the storm passes, our public safety crews are going to be going out, assessing roadways, assessing any possible damage and flooding.
Tell me a little bit about what your next few days will look like, though, after that. Are you expecting to see a lot of damage, flooding?
Yeah, especially flooding right now. That's one of our top hazards that we've been monitoring with the National Weather Service in Melbourne. So we're closely watching a lot of our major flood areas, especially Astor in particular, where it's going to reach about 4.5 feet. So our public safety teams are closely watching that as we speak and making plans.
And Nicholas, we know, I mean, the water can move quickly, as we've heard from some other folks in Brevard County, the water coming up quickly, especially for people who may be new to Central Florida and they've not gone through this before. Describe for us the concern about the waters and the hazards and beyond just the alligators that could be lying in risen waters.
Yeah, absolutely. We cannot express the importance of staying out of floodwaters. There's a lot of hazards associated with floodwaters, everything from critters, from debris. It's just best to stay out of those floodwaters. Don't try and traverse them. Turn around. Don't drown. Don't try and drive through them.
And are there any particular areas of Lake County that you guys are giving extra attention to? Because again, Lake County is pretty large. You got Claremont and other populated and rural areas. Are there particular spots of Lake County that is getting special attention?
Yeah, I know Astor is always one of the first conversations that we have. We have some other flooding concerns in South Lake County that we're closely monitoring with the National Weather Service, as well as our water team and floodplain team here in Lake County. We're paying special attention to Astor, where the flooding could reach near or historic levels.
Did you have any issues there when it came to storm removal, storm debris removal? Did you still have a lot of that left in Lake County from the last hurricane?
Yeah, there was some left, and our teams are working together after the storm to ensure everything's removed.
And to that point too, what's kind of the best advice? Because I know with emergency management, you guys are coordinating a lot of different folks, you know, trash services and law enforcement and things like that. But what's usually the best advice you let folks know as they start to venture out and, you know, may have to pull out a chainsaw and get trees? How should they kind of get the debris together to make sure it's disposed of properly and efficiently?
Absolutely. A lot of our injuries and everything happen post-storm because people are rushing to clear out their debris. We want people to neatly put it out by the curb and take their time and do not rush and do not overexert.
All right, that's really, really good advice. I know you had a voluntary evacuation at some point for parts of Lake County, correct?
That is correct.
Did you feel like people heeded those warnings to pack up and leave to be on the safe side?
Yeah, absolutely. Our shelters have about 1,700 people in them right now. We feel between the evacuations from the coast as well as here in our own community and demonstrated through a lot of the calls that we've received from residents that they took those that evacuation notice pretty seriously.
Did any of those shelters reach capacity?
No, those shelters have not reached capacity yet.
Okay. And lastly, let us ask you here, you know, looking ahead, you know, we get assessment and you got to kind of figure out the next step here. You know, what does the next couple of days look like as you begin to assess exactly where you need to put resources and future needs you may have?
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing tomorrow morning, afternoon, when the tropical storm winds depart our area, our public safety teams are immediately going to go out and start doing impact assessments, determining where our greatest needs are. Once we do that, we're going to position our resources, whether those are flood response resources or debris management, public works resources, to start clearing those roadways. And I want to urge our residents, I know it's tempting to go out and look at the damage and look at everything that may have occurred, but please stay out of the roadway and stay home and just allow us to do our work.
Wait for the official all clear from you guys. Don't get in the way. Let y'all do what you need to. Nicholas Girth with Lake County Emergency Operations Center. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's toss things over right now at 10:41 to our Mallory Nichols, who's standing by in the Weather Center with the very latest on Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the wind gusts because I've really seen these numbers tick up here in the last about 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm seeing a gust now in the Leesburg area to 75 miles per hour and 70-mile-an-hour gusts in the Daytona Beach area. So those winds are getting up close to, if not above, hurricane force at this point. Sustained winds I'm seeing on average between about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So we've got those strong winds that are picking up along with the heavy rain that continues to come down. And in fact, all of Central Florida is under a flash flood warning at this time. And we even have southern Sumter County, the purple boxes here under that flash flood emergency, where there has already been quite a bit of rain that has come down in the area. Notice there is some heavy rain that continues to push through southern Lake, Sumter, into western Orange, even northwestern Osceola counties, areas to the north. Those heavier showers are just continuing to push through at this time, just adding to what we've gotten across the area. And you can see the green boxes. As I mentioned, it is all of Central Florida that is under this flash flood warning at this time. As we look at the threat, we were talking about this the past few days. There was a large threat that we were going to be dealing with flooding, and we are dealing with that at this point. That chance was in the highest category. We don't see that often, but that was certainly the case. And with several inches across the area that has already fallen, we are really ticking up those numbers rather quickly. And there are a few areas that could see maybe a foot or higher amounts, potentially even in the Flagler County area. up to 2 feet of rainfall as that heavier activity continues to push across the area. And this is going to continue for the remainder of our Wednesday as well as into early tomorrow. Of course, this will push a little closer to the East Coast to kick off our Thursday. Hey, by Friday, there's not going to be a concern. We're actually going to quiet things down rather quickly as we head toward the weekend, but we have just several more hours to get through here as this system works its way across Central Florida. Now, here's a look at some tips if you are in an area that has some flooding. You heard that just a second ago from the emergency management in Lake County. Don't drive through the flooded roadways. Do not go around any barricaded roads. Find another route. Try not to walk, bike, or play in those waters. You don't know what's in there. You don't want to go through it. If asked to evacuate by officials, do so. If flooding enters your home, call 911 and do not touch any electrical equipment. Power lines down in those flooded waters. You want to stay out of it and keep yourself safe as much as possible. Here's a look at our future cast for the next several hours. The eye going over Polk County. I think this is a little farther to the south, but we'll be pushing into Osceola County here in the next about hour and a half, and then into Brevard County in the early morning hours tomorrow, and then out into the Atlantic. But you can see those rain bands just continuing to dump the water for inland areas. We're going to be seeing strong wind gusts all throughout this time, beginning to improve along the western side of the state in the early morning hours, and then beginning to improve gradually as we head into the afternoon for the rest of the state. Still going to be breezy, and with those saturated grounds, the concern for power outages, trees coming down will continue to be a problem. And then along the East Coast for tomorrow morning, we do have the potential for some storm surge as those winds get kicked back toward the East Coast. There is the possibility in Flagler County of 4 to 5 feet for that storm surge, something we're going to be watching closely tomorrow morning. Tammy and Greg.
All right, Mallory, thank you. After making landfall in Siesta Key earlier this evening, just a few short hours ago, Milton still a strong Category 2 storm. Spectrum
News 13's Maria Serrano. She's joining us live in an area that will soon see the eye of the hurricane. Areas in Osceola County like Champions Gate. Maria.
Well, rain falling sideways, trees shaking. The only way I can describe this is violent. That's a word I'm going to use. Violent winds. I want to step out of the way just so you can see those trees shaking as I showed you. Our meteorologist saying with the eye tracking in this direction, the heavy winds are on their way to Osceola County. We're expecting that eye between 11:30 to 12. Remember that curfew here in Osceola County started at 8 and until 10 a.m. tomorrow. We are inside our hotel room at this point, but our photographer has quickly stepped out just to show you exactly what we're experiencing here. Another part of the story that we've seen is also people heeding those warnings, at least here in Osceola County, also hunkering down inside their hotel rooms. Here in Champions Gate, we continue to see that wind blowing, that rain falling, specifically sideways. As we continue to have our eyes here in our area, I can tell you there continues to be a curfew that started at 8 p.m. and until 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's not necessary for you to be out there. As a matter of fact, it's unsafe at this point here in Osceola County as we await the eye of that hurricane. At this point, officials tell us that the winds could be over 45 miles per hour or greater, which means they'll be staged at different facilities, ready to go as soon as they can. For now, I am live in Osceola County. Maria Serrano, Spectrum News.
Thank you, Maria. We should note that curfew until 10 a.m. tomorrow does not apply to essential workers. Individuals that are going to and from work have to have a photo ID and a work phone number, too.
Osceola County leaders have been emphasizing that having non-essential vehicles off the roads really ensures public safety personnel and law enforcement can adequately provide services once the storm passes. Heading a little north, you are taking a live look now in Sanford, in Seminole County, where some of the conditions we see here. And again, it's continued to develop as the storm moves through our area.
Some Central Florida curfews are in place at this time. Maria was just telling you about one of those in Osceola County. Here's a list. Flagler County is under a curfew until Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Volusia County is in effect. Their curfew is in effect until Thursday at 8 a.m. Osceola County again under a curfew until 10 a.m. on Thursday. If these are extended, we will let you know.
And we are going to be with you as the storm continues to pass through our region. So the Spectrum News app is a good spot to join us and share with any relatives who may be concerned out of state. The Spectrum News app does not require any login right now. We've lifted all the restrictions. And again, want to continue that calm tone for you to make sure that you are prepared and not scared. And that is something that a lot of people have been paying attention to here.
That's true. You know, you also can keep up with Spectrum News 13's coverage as we track the storm and its impacts by listening to our radio partner, Central Florida Public Media. You'll find them on your radio, 90.7 on your FM radio. There's some power outages to talk about too.
Yeah, we're at 1.7 million outages statewide, and we have been seeing that number continue to grow just a bit, of course, as you would expect right now over on the West Coast, but we do have some localized outages as well.
We do. We know that Duke Energy is saying they've got about 17,000 customers without power in Marion County. They've got a population of about 69,000 people, but still 17,000 is a lot. Duke Energy telling us earlier in the week in a news conference that they were expecting about 1 million people to be without power. This is a look at the Duke Energy outage map right now at this hour, and you can see in these spots where you see the blue bubble there, that's telling you the areas that Greg was just talking about that are seeing the most power outages. Now, you should keep in mind that these numbers are only going to continue to grow. I know that sometimes people get tired of hearing us talking about preparing for the hurricanes and getting hurricane supplies, but this is one of the reasons why. You just don't know if you're going to be, your street will be impacted, your home will be impacted by power outages.
And do want to let you know, we are just getting some fresh information here. So Duke Energy now reporting about 20,000 customers. But keep in mind, not only in Marion County, but in other counties, there are multiple service providers, FPL and OUC and others. So
well, that's one home, that's actually probably families in there that are impacted.
And so Marion County actually among the highest number of outages in our region right now. Lake County as well with about 26,000 outages. So we'll continue to track that. We know that, as the governor's been saying, a lot of crews have been coming in from out of state, standing by to help restore power as quickly as possible, because it's more than just comfort and convenience of AC and things like that, but a lot of people with medical issues at home. Mallory Nichols, let's bring you back into the conversation here again, because a lot of folks just bracing, holding their breath, and hoping we can have Milton pass by with minimal impacts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's definitely the hope, and it's moving pretty quickly. So in the few hours, we are going to be on the other side of this. So as we check out the landfall, this occurred at 8:30 earlier this evening in Siesta Key, Florida. Wind speeds were at 120 miles per hour. That was a Category 3, and it has been gradually weakening here over the last few hours, but it is still a strong hurricane. The latest update has just come in. Those winds are at 105 miles per hour, so it's only back down a little bit, moving off to the east-northeast at 16 miles per hour. So it's pushing into Polk County right now, that eye, the center of the eye, and it will continue to push toward Osceola County. And we're focused on that center at this point because that's where we have the strongest of the winds. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not seeing those high winds outside of that center, but that is where the strongest occur, and it will be pushing through Osceola County, Brevard County in the next few hours, heading into early tomorrow morning. Now, the latest track does continue it off to the east-northeast and out into the Atlantic by sunrise, pushing away from us rather quickly as we head into our Thursday afternoon. So conditions will begin to improve, and we'll be able to get out and assess the damage. But until then, just stay in your shelter for the time being until the worst of the impacts pass. And here's our Greenway Kia camera in downtown Orlando. This is the intersection of Central and Orange, seeing some strong gusts moving through from time to time, and also some heavy rain. And the roads are definitely wet, and that's going to be the case for a lot of areas across Central Florida. Here's a look at the latest gusts. We right now have a gust of 63 in Daytona Beach, 66 for Leesburg. Those are the highest that I see, but in Kissimmee and even in Sanford, we do have those gusts over 50 miles per hour. Now, we do want to check out the rainfall totals here, because we do have a flash flood warning for all of Central Florida. As we look at some of the estimates, and Brian was mentioning earlier, some of these estimates are on the lower end because it's coming down so quickly that the radar is backing up here and slow to really pick up on exactly how much has come down. But we do have a bit of a bullseye here in southern Lake, Sumter, down into Polk County, where several inches, I think 8 to 12 has fallen in this area, and the heavy rain continues to come down. But in the past 6 hours, there have been several inches of rain for a lot of Central Florida. And as we switch over to our radar picture, I do want to show you the latest on what's going on at this point, because we still have some heavier showers that are pushing through, especially it looks like around the Disney World area. So I'm going a little bit closer here, southwestern Orange County, the Four Corners area, and southern Lake County, seeing the heaviest of that rainfall. But there are some heavier showers for spots to the north. This does include Claremont over toward Ocoee and even up into Seminole County, seeing a little bit of red peeking through there from Sanford and back toward Umatilla in Lake County. So this is a lot of rain that is continuing to fall. So in the next few hours, not only are we going to be seeing that potential for some high wind gusts, but we are looking at this flooding threat, and we will be adding to these numbers over the next several hours as these heavy bands roll through. But by Thursday afternoon, we'll start to clear this rain out, and hopefully there's not as big of a flooding risk as what we are expecting, or a flooding concern is what we are expecting. But this is what we're watching at this point. We do have those high gusty bands that are pushing across the area. We'll continue to track those for you over the next several hours. Tammy and Greg.
All right, thank you so much, Mallory. We want to take things over to Seminole County now, and our Devin Martin, he's standing by there.
Good evening. Yes, so as I've been here, the rain continues to come and go, and the wind keeps coming and going as well. But now as I'm out here, it is really starting to pick up. I'm so close to the Emergency Operations Center here in Seminole County, and not too long ago on their Facebook page, they posted a resource that they would like people to partake in, and that is, if you see damage, to report it. That could be seeing down power lines, down trees, or flooding in the area. They would like to hear from you. That way, in the morning, when it comes to post-storm recovery efforts, they have a general idea of where to go to be able to send those resources. And if you would like to be able to submit that report and you live in Seminole County, all you have to do is go on prepareseminole.org. We'll continue to have live updates throughout the next hour here on Spectrum News 13. That will do it for now. Back to you in studio.
Hey, Devin, while we've got you here, want to connect with you. So about just shy of 12,000 power outages reported in Seminole County. We know you had a chance to talk with folks at the Emergency Operations Center a short time ago. What are they relaying to you as far as where their focus is at as Milton makes its way through our area?
Yeah, Greg, mainly the focus is just to be able to hear from residents. That is really what they want to hear right now, to make sure that they can direct those resources. The other thing that I heard from the Emergency Operations Center is just for people to stay calm and collected during this time. This storm, it is not fun. It is not something that we want to be thinking about. So when I did hear from them, to be able to clear your mind a little bit, breathe, be at peace, and we're going to get through this together. Greg?
All right, Devin Martin live for us tonight in Seminole County. Really appreciate it. Thank you. We are talking about the power outages here. Again, about 1.7 million people without power, and that is going to be something that, as the governor spoke about earlier tonight, there's a lot of people,
yes,
thousands of people on standby to step in to help us restore power.
But here's the deal. They're not stepping in. They're not coming out tonight. Okay? It is too dangerous for them to go out tonight. You see this map here? Yes, you have people that are stationed. One of the areas where they are stationed and standing by, I believe, is in Davenport, but there is a second one here closer to our area. There are massive amounts of people that are standing by, but it is too dangerous for them to come out tonight and do that work.
We have Sumter County, for example. Sumter County a short time ago has said that they are not responding to emergency calls for help because of the conditions have deteriorated to the point where it's not safe for them. Usually about 45 miles an hour is kind of a good benchmark for a lot of folks, and certainly they don't want to have to put their lives on the line and something happened to them as they try to come out to rescue people.
And that's what we've been saying all day long, to make sure that you use common sense, but charge all of your devices. Make sure that you have a way to listen to the weathercast and the weather reports, and then to make sure that you have a safe way to have a little bit of light. We don't want to use candles if we can get by without doing that, but to have flashlights and things. You're going to stay hunkered in your home during this time. You just want to have enough to get by, perhaps to go use the bathroom or to get something to eat, but make sure you stay on top of the weathercast.
And here's the thing, we recognize for a lot of people, they have lived here for many, many years. They were here through Charlie and Irma and all the other storms, but there's also a lot of people, this is their first storm.
True.
They're new to Central Florida, so what may seem like common sense to a lot of people is a new experience for others. So that's why we try to do our best to help you just be calm, to be prepared, not scared. And so we are going to be with you as this storm makes its way through. It's important to recognize every storm is different. So we do appreciate you being with us here on Spectrum News 13. We do have a lot that will continue to track with you in these overnight hours, and not only here on air, but with the Spectrum News app and mynews13.com. And we've got a lot more to continue to get to right now.
Yes, we do. So keep it here, everyone.
We're going
Let's go to the Weather Center right now because we are tracking Hurricane Milton. What's the latest?
Tammy and Greg, we've got some breaking news coming in from our sister station, Spectrum Bay News 9. Sounds like some issues at Tropicana Field.
Yeah, Tropicana Field was housing all of the first responders. They put up cots, and a lot of people are actually there to get some rest as the storm goes through. And we just heard that part of the roof has collapsed.
Yeah, paneling has come off the roof, and again, a lot of people being housed and sheltered in there. We also heard that a crane has collapsed in the flash flood emergency in St. Pete. So we're getting some pretty serious reports coming out. Wind increasing. And unfortunately, the power outages are growing, and you're firsthand on that one.
Yeah, my family just messaged me and said that they've lost their power now. I keep watching at my house because I sent my parents north to hopefully get out of the worst of it, and our house has power and they don't. But everyone is looking at those strong wind gusts, and you can see here behind me, we do have a gust to 76 for Daytona Beach, a gust to 68 in Leesburg, and we're seeing a gust to 63 in Kissimmee. So we're starting to get gusts of hurricane force.
Yeah, and that's because the eyes get a little closer, and I can show you that eye on Quaistron 13 here, and you heard Maria Serrano down there at Champions Gate saying the wind was starting to pick up and it was getting quite strong. The eye, if we were to look at this right now, I'm going to pause this down for just a second, and we're not moving it here as the eye is coming across, looks like it's just to the south of Lakeland, continuing to move to the east-northeast at that rate, going to come up over central Osceola and then offshore into central and southern Brevard County. So something that we'll watch because on the north side, tremendous amounts of rain, and we're going to start seeing, and let me back out for a second, we're going to start seeing very strong wind quickly race across southern Polk into southern Osceola and Brevard County over the next hour or two. You're going to start to see those winds increase 60 to 70 miles per hour with some higher gusts. And I discussed this yesterday, how on the south side of this, we were going to see those winds and no rainfall, and it might catch some people off guard. But we were also thinking yesterday this was going to be a little bit slower, so it's speeding up. So for those of you right now in southern Osceola, southern and central Osceola into southern and central Brevard County, don't be surprised if here over the next hour, hour and a half, you start hearing that wind howling as we get those gusts coming in, and peak winds anywhere between 50 and 60 miles per hour, those gusts 70 to 80. North side, we're getting some strong wind, but we're also getting a tremendous amount of rain. rainfall here. As I scoot in a little bit closer, we have flash flood emergencies that are in place for Polk and southern Sumter County. Let me take a look at the rainfall totals here just the past few hours, and all of this is creeping up toward places like Orlando. I'll take a sampling here and down near Lakeland, right on the I-4 corridor. 6 inches, radar is underestimating because the rain is coming down so very heavily, like zero visibility heavy. And so the radar is underestimating, and we've had areas that have picked up between 8, 10, and even 12 inches of rain, parts of Polk, southern Sumter over to Hillsborough, as well as Hernando County. So all this rain translating north. Greg and Tammy, the big concern over the next several hours is that we are going to have flash flooding that is going to occur in a more widespread area coming on up and over the Orlando Metroplex. Think Ian. Ian dumped over 1 foot of rainfall in some spots in a fairly short period of time. We ended up with flash flood emergencies. If you're in an area that is prone to flooding, just keep that in mind. We are going to see a tremendous amount of rain over the next several hours, and the gusty winds coming in, unfortunately, will start taking down some more trees.
All right.
All right, that is not good, and that is not what we want to hear, but we get it.
No, not at all. And of course, as we continue to see the development of the storm and the impacts and hearing from local sheriffs, it's not going to be good news. All right, let's continue here. Asher Wildman, he is joining us now from Hillsborough County. Asher, what are you seeing at this point?
Greg, Tammy, good evening. What I can tell you is not a lot of light. In fact, over the next few minutes while I'm talking to you, you might see some blue flashes. That's probably another transformer going out, as now here in Hillsborough County. Big wind gust there. Here in Hillsborough County, about 220,000 people currently without power. But I want to show you kind of what the winds are looking like at this hour. We're being told right now by our sister station over in Tampa that the wind gusts currently 70 to 90 miles per hour. And I'm going to take my flashlight just a little farther down. You can see this is the street sign over there, North Highland Street and 7th Avenue. It's about to go. We've seen a couple limbs come down off this oak tree here. And as you can see down the road, absolutely pitch black out. All the lights are out in this part of Tampa Heights. Farther down the road, which I'm not really sure we can get from this vantage point, but there is you can see a blocked off road. That's down by the water area, which is prone to flood, so we're not going to go down there, obviously. But here in the last couple hours, we are hearing more and more what sound like, the best analogy to give you is just kind of like a cannonball, but that's just another transformer blowing. As mentioned, over 200,000 in Hillsborough County without power. But now these wind gusts, this is what a lot of people were going to be talking about and why they evacuated, not just because of flooding. It was because of all the storm debris that was left over from Helene. And I'm not just talking yard debris. We're talking people's homes down in low-lying areas down in Seminole Heights. They got 3-4 feet of water along the Hillsborough River there. Outside their homes are now rotting mattresses, rotting wood, drywall. It's all out there that was never collected or picked up following Helene. And now, come tomorrow when the sun comes up, we're going to have to find out where exactly it is relocated. Palm trees, they're still standing, but as mentioned, these wind gusts 70 to 90 miles an hour right now. And it's been like this for the good past hour. We lost power in our location about 2 hours ago. We had a transformer here kick on, but it was only short-lived. So more power outages are continuing to be reported out here on the west coast of Florida. So it's not just here in Hillsborough County as this storm heads east now and into central Florida. But here, we are not seeing the flooding yet. We were under a flood advisory not too long ago, but it is the wind gusts right now that are sustained, that are picking up, and you can see another good one. Let me just show you what the tree, this is an oak tree here behind me. Just another one, just real good wind gust blowing. And I want to take you just one more time down to the stop sign because that's a, some type, if you just saw that right there, that blue flash in the sky, that was another transformer that blew. So it is, and there goes the sound. I don't think you can hear it though through the wind. So that is what we're seeing out here in the Tampa Heights community. It's the wind gusts right now that are really strong, 70 to 90 miles an hour. More and more people reporting to lose power. And then when the sun comes up, we'll be able to see where all the debris ends up. And also want to let everybody know over in Central Florida, because I know folks evacuated from these low-lying areas that moved inland. From what I saw, a lot of streets that were told to evacuate, they were. We saw homes boarded up. Currently, there has been nobody on the road, thank goodness, for several hours. There was a tow truck out a few hours ago, but we haven't seen him in quite some time. So people are bunkered down. They are being safe right now. Also, I think, Greg, you mentioned a little while ago that law enforcement no longer out on the roads patrolling. So this is right now the strongest winds we've seen. More and more people losing power, and we're going to continue to monitor conditions out here in the Tampa Heights area of Hillsborough County. Reporting live for Spectrum News, I'm Asher Wildman.
All right, Asher, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Some damage in St. Pete to talk about. Do we have some images or some video we'd like to show you of some damage reports we're just getting in at this hour? Let me know there if you all want us to talk about that. Is this what we're seeing here? If we can make this out. This is the Tropicana Field. This is in St. Petersburg, where, of course, Tampa Bay Rays play. We know this was a staging area that was all set up for these are linemen, I believe. And we know that they've taken a lot of damage at this hour. That's what our chief meteorologist and meteorologist Valerie Nichols were telling us about.
And again, as we've been seeing, a lot of power outages as well. Transformers have been blowing quite a bit. A little bit of dark video here, but you'll see in a second that distinct blue pop right there.
Wow.
And again, notice how dark the video is. And notice as these things happen, this is why people are told, don't go venturing out during the eye. Don't go venturing out because you can't really see what is going on around you. You can't see power lines on the ground. And what you don't want to do is to walk in a puddle or flooded water and there's a live, active, hot wire in that water, because it's not going to be pretty for you right after that.
That's one of the reasons why they say stay in your home and be prepared for the possibility of this, because it can happen to any of us at any given time, as Mallory was just saying with her own family. And
we're seeing some of the other images coming out from different parts of the state. Let's continue now in Brevard County, and let's see how Greg Pallone is viewing conditions out there. Greg, we've been seeing you parts, certainly dealing with more wet weather at this point.
Do they know we're up?
Okay, this looks like
our apologies. I think that might be Jeff Allen that's standing by there.
Okay.
Or Randy Roush one.
Yep. Okay.
We'll go to weather and come back and check in with them. It is so difficult, you all. We both have been out in the field for a couple of decades doing this kind of coverage, and let me tell you, it is not easy, especially when the weather starts going downhill.
You can't hear anything.
No, you can't hear anything, and you're trying to hold on to your hat and not blow away. It is not easy.
It is moment of levity here. All right, Brian Carrick joining us now. 11:10 now, if you are keeping track of time.
Yeah, we're watching wind speeds that have been coming up. Mallory mentioned this just a short time ago. We've had a wind gust recently to 76 miles per hour out at Daytona Beach. Even here in Orlando, a gust to 54, and down in Kissimmee, a recent gust to 63. So winds are coming up as the center of Milton, the eye, comes across Polk County, eventually making it across central and southern Osceola County into central and southern Brevard County before going offshore before sunrise. And I'll step you time-wise through this coming up in just a bit. I'll go hour by hour, take you through the rest of tonight, find out when the rain finally comes to an end. Speaking of rainfall, check this out. This big area of red is where we have had upwards of a foot of rain that has come out of the sky. I'm going to get over to Klystron 13 here in a second. What I want to do is talk you through both the rainfall, and bear with me here, rainfall as well as what we have as far as wind conditions. And we'll start with the rainfall that's coming on in, because I want to mention that we still have a flash flood emergency for northern and northwestern Polk County, but it creeps up into southern Sumter County over the Green Swamp. A flash flood emergency is the higher echelon when it comes to flood emergencies or flooding, flash flooding. Shouldn't be anybody out and about. The concern is growing now, though, that the heavy rainfall that is coming over southern Lake and western Orange County could lead to some flash flooding locally. So again, over to Klystron 13 we go, and as far as the center of Milton here, the eye itself is down just to the south of Lakeland, On the south side, we're going to begin to see those winds come in, and they're going to increase greatly here across Osceola and Brevard County. North side, the winds are wrapping in, but we're getting the torrential rainfall, okay? So let's zoom in. I'll start with the rainfall. I want to take a look at rain totals. I just shared this with you, but let's give you a different perspective here. And down into parts of Polk County, this purple shaded area here. If you've been with us for a while, we've been discussing how radar can underestimate rain when it's coming down so heavily. In this case, it's blinding rain. Visibility practically zero. So the radar is underestimating what has already fallen in parts of Hillsborough back into Polk County. Some spots 8 to 12 inches that has come down here in the past several hours. And that is creeping up the I-4 corridor. So the heaviest swath of rain that we thought would be up toward Flagler and Volusia County over toward Marion has dropped south. And so I'm thinking the heaviest rain is going to set up over parts of Lake Orange, Seminole, and Volusia County. All right, so that's rainfall. And we have a whole slew, a map that is covered in flood and flash flood warnings. Almost everybody is in some sort of a flash flood or a flood warning at this time. Again, don't be outside tonight. Don't need to be anywhere outside. Let's take a look. I want to go over to the wind speeds, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. And we're going to go out and show you some of the wind speeds that we're getting out toward Disney and extending back over toward Four Corners. Let me get a sample of some of these gusts that are coming on in. 80 miles per hour. This is just a little bit off the ground, so I think we're probably translating 70 to 75 mile per hour winds coming on into Four Corners and the Champions Gate area. Maria Serrano down in Champions Gate, keeping an eye on that wind for us. A little closer to, it looks like we get you out just to the west of Kissimmee, or the west side of Kissimmee and Celebration, gusts over 50. I want to take you up toward the Butler chain of lakes, 50, Windermere, Dr. Phillips, probably 40 to 50. Let's get you out just to the west here of Four Corners, 60. I'm just going to keep sampling here because these winds are coming in, and there's a 79 mile per hour gust. It's more than likely probably 70 south of Four Corners, okay? Let me back out. I want to go down and take a little sample of what we've got coming into Polk County and Osceola County. And again, we're getting winds between 60 and 80 miles per hour that are starting to rush on in to parts of Polk as well as Osceola County. This is as I try and configure here what we've got going on our Quaistron 13, this is actually the terminal Doppler that we've taken out of the Orlando International Airport. So we've got the green that is rushing toward the radar site itself up at the airport. We've got the red that is rushing away, and that's why the wind is starting to increase. The center of what is Milton is continuing to churn away and send all of that wind in our direction. Greg and Tammy, I've got a new show all put together. Coming up, I'm going to go county by county, figure out what we have for the rest of tonight. I'll also take you hour by hour and show you what we've got as far as continuing rainfall and when we will see that sun finally make an appearance.
All right, thank you. We'll be looking for that county by county breakdown. We want to go right now to St. Petersburg. We were talking about that staging area at Tropicana Field just a moment ago. Take a look at this.
This is exactly what it looks like. Tropicana Field, it's where the Rays play, and their roof has come apart. And the thing about this is linemen were being housed in here, sheltered in here from the storm. Linemen standing by to help restore power post-storm. So this is a developing story, a developing situation. We are watching out of St. Pete, also seeing reports of a crane that may have collapsed not far from here in St. Pete.
Somewhat good news here. St. Petersburg Police Department is nearby, and hopefully they have been able to get some people or some staff here at Tropicana Field just to make sure that all of those workers are okay. We are praying for their safety. They are much needed in our area with all these power outages and what's to come.
And again, we've got hours of this storm to go through yet. Let's go ahead and continue our coverage. We've got Maciel Leyva. She is live for us in Volusia County. And Maciel, we know that there are curfews in effect right now. First responders, they're still on standby, especially for potential water rescues. What kind of insight do you have about storm impacts there in Volusia County?
That's right, Greg. Right now, the conditions, as you can see, some winds and rain coming down. But one of the main concerns here in Volusia County, as we have seen over the past couple of weeks, is flooding and flash flooding, as Brian mentioned. I want to show you right behind me. We are right now at the Emergency Operations Center, and there is right there some water is pulling up, and it's kind of like getting a little bit flooded. You can see how much rain has been coming down right now. We are expecting to see about 8 to 12 inches of rain across Volusia County, and those heavy winds picking up. You can feel it right now, and definitely not a safe time to be out there. You shouldn't be on the roads. As of 6 p.m. today, one of the shelters in Mainland High School was at capacity. However, the county already has 4 more shelters and 2 special needs shelters. Sheriff Mike Schitt was earlier today at one of those special needs shelters. He was just going around the community making sure everyone was okay. But if you're right now at home, please stay safe. Do not go outside by any means. We have also seen some lightning in this area and some heavy winds and rains coming down. So please stay safe. Do not go outside if it's not needed. The roads are empty right now. It's only for first responders and law enforcement officers. So please stay off the roads as well. Live in Daytona Beach, Maciel Leyva, Spectrum News.
All right, we're going to go a good distance away from there to Brevard County, where we know conditions have really started to pick up. Our Greg Pallone is standing by there. Greg.
Yeah, Tammy, Greg, things have certainly excelled here over the last little bit. We've seen some gusts in the 20 to 25 mile an hour range here over just the last 20 minutes or so. So certainly things are getting a little bit worse as the overnight approaches too. You see some of the trees blowing there in the distance as well. We're in Palm Bay, so we're in the southern part of Brevard County. I want to take you even further south, show you some video that we shot earlier this evening down at the River's Edge Inn. That's down in Grant Valcaria. That is where some rescues were taking place. Once these rain bands started coming in, just dropped a bomb on them of water and deluge and about 2 feet of flooding. Some of the, actually all of those motel rooms flooded there at that inn. There were 9 people who were evacuated and taken to a local shelter. There was 1 man who was injured. Unfortunately, he slipped in the water and had to be taken to the hospital. And then also we saw some people with their dogs and their pets evacuating out of there as well, as we're getting a really good gust here right now. So we did get a chance to talk to the property manager who's been there for 13, 14 years that has never seen anything like this.
It was like a flash flooding, just quickly, and then the water started rising within seconds in the rooms.
And since that time, roughly around 7 o'clock or so, we've not seen any significant rain so far. It's basically been a wind event. And again, the gusts are increasing as we speak, and they certainly will in the overnight hours as the storm approaches the east coast of Florida and, of course, the Space Coast. And the one thing that Maciel mentioned, we're seeing the roads are empty. Not a lot of people out on the roadways right now, so that's certainly a good thing. People heeding the warnings and staying home, staying inside as the storm starts to come out our way. Greg, Tammy, back to you.
All right, Greg, appreciate that. Let's come back inland just a little bit here. And Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick. And Brian, the St. Lucie County Sheriff, right there on the Treasure Coast, a couple counties south of Brevard County there. St. Lucie County Sheriff is telling local media there that there have been multiple deaths because of what they believe was a tornado. Here inland, what are we looking at as far as concern with tornadic activity versus what we're seeing here?
The good news is that we're really not seeing much of a tornado threat the rest of tonight, and that is horrific news. If we're hearing that there are multiple deaths, that is not good. The tornado situation this afternoon was quite atypical of a tropical system, as we had large tornadoes on the ground. During a tropical system, usually EF0, maybe EF1. This is more than likely going to have some EF2 tornadoes in it, potentially EF3. These things were monsters on the ground. They were on the ground for quite some time. And yeah, we've had considerable amounts of damage across southern portions of the state, and even had some damage in Brevard County with what will be a confirmed tornado over toward Cocoa Beach. Getting images out of Tropicana Field coming in as well. The wind has damaged Tropicana Field's roof. Several panels have ripped off, and they have been housing first responders, etc., in Tropicana Field. So with the roof now coming off, they're having to scramble to kind of find shelter for those folks. Again, our tornado threat has diminished. Let me put Quaestron 13 here into motion, and we're starting to see some incredibly intense rain right over the Orlando Metroplex. Now, there is a flash flood warning in place for a huge portion of Seminole, Orange, Lake, Polk, northwestern Osceola County. It's just a flash flood warning. I'm not going to say just a flash flood warning because that's serious business. It's not a flash flood emergency, but with the rainfall coming down as hard as it is, we could end up with a flash flood emergency and kind of having flashbacks to Hurricane Ian when the water started coming up in areas. So if you're in a flood prone area, just kind of keep that in mind. All right, let's get you a quick look outside. This is our Greenway Kia camera. This is looking back toward Wall Street. We have been watching sheets of rain come in the trees that have been blowing very swiftly. Let's go county by county for the rest of tonight, though, because I want to make sure I cover all of you. Let's start with Brevard County. Worst weather from now through 7 a.m., 4 to 8 inches of rain. Winds are going to increase over the next hour, sustaining 40 to 50 gusts. 70, maybe even 75. Notice that storm surge 2 feet. As we continue into Brevard, or I should say Osceola County, 2 to 5 inches of rain. You're a little lower. You're going to be south of that eye for the most part. The highest rain will come across the northern parts of the county. You're already seeing some strong winds. Gusts are going to approach 75 to potentially even 80 miles per hour, and winding down looks like by 4 or 5 a.m. Same thing here in Orange County. Wind gusts could approach 75 miles per hour in the next hour, hour and a half. 6 to 9, even 10, 11 inches of rain. The worst weather from now through 4 a.m. Continuing up into Seminole County through 5 a.m., you'll have some of these really intense conditions of 6 to 12 inches of rain and gusts to 70 for about an hour window there. And those winds will stay up overnight at least 45 to 50, 55 miles per hour. Volusia County, 8 to as much as 18 inches. The county is huge. Looks like the highest may fall in central and southern Volusia County. Winds could gust to 70 miles per hour in a couple of hours. And on our coast, 4 to 5 foot storm surge. 4 to 5 foot storm surge here in Flagler County as well. And we're going to see that starting to crank up early tomorrow morning before sunrise. 7 to 10 inches of rain, highest coming in the southern portions of the county, although we may be lowering that just a bit more. 8 to as much as 15 inches of rain here in Lake County, especially from Cassia to Eustis to Verries, Mount Dora. Gusts already approaching 70, 75 in some areas. Those winds will start to come down a touch, but sustain themselves at 40 to 45, 50 miles per hour into the overnight. 9 to as much as 15 inches across the southern part of Lake County as well. We've already had gusts 75, could see some close to 80 here for the next hour, and that will continue to take some trees down. And unfortunately, it's going to be rather rough for a couple of hours. We'll wind the worst weather down before 4 a.m. Same thing, Sumter County right now, flash flood emergency, southern Sumter County, 10 to 15 inches of rain. And the worst weather wrapping up before 4. Already had those gusts up to 70, 75 miles per hour. Some gusts still approaching 70 in Marion County. Those gusts will start to come down. 7 to 10 inches of rain, highest in the southeastern parts of the county. Be south of Ocklawaha, but out towards Starks Ferry, maybe over toward Bellevue. All right. I want to share the 7-day forecast with you. I haven't done it in a while. We are going to see rainfall wrap up early tomorrow. Wind stays up throughout the day. Going to be a very gusty day, mostly cloudy with some peaks of sun, low 80s. Check out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Low, maybe a few mid-80s this weekend. Dew points are down. How about, Greg and Tammy, a taste of the dry season ahead? And this weekend, it's going to be dry, unfortunately, for what will probably be some pretty serious cleanup. But again, we're going to get through it, and we're going to continue to clean up over the weekend as we do as Central Floridians. We're back at it and enjoying some sunshine over our Saturday and Sunday.
After Milton, I think dry is a good thing to look forward to. Brian, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, we have been covering the flood mitigation efforts in Orlo Vista since Hurricane Ian back in 2022. You remember some of those high rescue vehicles that had to go out there?
And when we took aerial shots of that area, it was absolutely incredible. Even looking at the file video now, it is really... There's no words for it. I don't know if we have the video that we can share you. We have a reporter who's out there monitoring what is the system that's going on out there right now, and we'll get to him in just a minute. But the video, the aerials of that are unmistakable. And luckily, the people have been pushing and pushing and pushing for some change, and they're gotten some help out there. The county has been able to dig the retention ponds there even deeper. We're talking like 12 feet, and they say that is going to make a big, big difference.
And this is the thing, having been in that neighborhood many times, telling the stories along with other Spectrum colleagues, is the fact that there's some elderly folks that live out there and describing their living situations and things like that. So that's going to be a big improvement. So Curtis is keeping tabs on that. We do have, again, widespread issue that a lot of people will probably have to deal with, power outages. We're seeing that number go up. 1.9 million power outages now being reported across the state against multiple utility providers. This here is a zoomed in look of Duke Energy specifically. And again, our region, we've got OUC, FPL, Duke Energy, and a number of folks. As you can imagine, a lot of those 1.9 million power outages being recorded over on the Gulf Coast. In Seminole County, where we are getting a live look right now, we have about 11,000 power outages reported, about half of the 26,000 reported just south in Orange County. But again, a little north of our viewing area, Lake County, 32,000 outages, Marion County, 44,000, and that number may continue to grow as Milton continues to traverse across the I-4 corridor, we'll call it.
We were told specifically that when it comes to power outages, they're going to go and prioritize, once it's safe to do so, places like assisted living facilities and hospitals, and then they'll go to the areas where the most amount of people actually reside. So if you're in a neighborhood and there are just a handful of people with outages, it's going to take some time for them to get to you.
Well, and you bring up assisted living facilities, and if you remember Irma in 2017, I was in South Florida. 12 seniors had died because their assisted living facility lost power for days, and it was very hot. And so because of that, the state legislature took action, and now they've got more robust laws to require backup generators, and
or those people are moved to a different facility before the storm.
In there. So a lot to learn from every storm. Milton, the latest now we are dealing with. Let's go ahead and bring back in Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick, the entire team in there with you as we continue to track the progress of Milton here at 11:30 on this Wednesday night.
Yeah, Milton's still packing winds to 105 miles per hour, moving to the east-northeast at 16. So it's moving at a pretty good clip. By the way, just had a recent gusts to 93 miles per hour at Tampa International Airport, and this is north of the I itself. So those strong winds on the north side are translating up I-4. We're getting several gusts over 70 to 75 up into parts of Polk County and even into Lake and Sumter County at this time. Let's go over to Klystron 13, see what we've got going on. Extremely heavy rain that is coming down here across Orlando. All of Orlando, basically. And this is the area setting up now for what could be 6, 7, 8 inches of rainfall in a fairly short period of time. I would put all of the flood and flash flood warnings in place, but there's so many and they are overlapping. You're not outside driving around in it, so stay inside, obviously, just hunker down in your shelter right now at this point. As we take a look at Klystron 13, and I'll take a look first at the wind. Let me get in here just a little bit. Very quickly, I want to point out the wind, and I've taken you into the Orlando International Airport radar for us because it's giving us a much better idea what some of these winds are closer to Places like Disney, where we're getting winds that are probably at least 60, 62 south of Celebration. Get back out to northern Polk County, 64. Got some higher gusts, maybe 73 out in northern Polk County. We're also starting to get some of those strong winds south of the eye itself as it's coming across out into Polk County right now. The eye is out, looks like it's near Bartow. Some of the winds translating now to the ground out toward Lake Wales, 60, 55 to 60. That is just south here of Poinciana and Solavita. So those winds are starting to pick up. But Greg and Tammy, right now, as we take a look, Klystron 13, put it into motion, our biggest concern is turning into what will be a lot of rainfall. And with saturated ground and the potential for flash flooding increasing, we're also going to start to take those trees down just simply because of the wind. And with that said, more widespread power outages are expected over the next several hours.
All right. When you were talking, thank you so much, Brian. When you were talking about those issues, I was thinking about the Tampa Bay area and flash flooding, especially in the popular area of Bayshore Boulevard, where Gasparilla is held. And so many people from this area go there for this great big parade. And the flooding there was just massive. It was unreal to see. They were really hit hard. That was just 2 weeks ago.
Well, and then you think about the bridges they have over there just to get between St. Pete
That's
and
right.
Tampa. And, you know, they say it's the cost of living in paradise, but this is not anything that anyone wishes we had to deal with. Let's go to Hillsborough County. If we can bring Jeff Allen into the conversation here. Jeff, we have had the chance to talk with you a couple times tonight. How are conditions looking now? Because, you know, the storm's progressing through. So walk us through what you're seeing.
Yeah, so Greg, now those, Greg and Tammy, those winds have kind of shifted. They're coming really kind of straight from kind of the north right at us here. We've kind of flipped around to the other side of the parking garage that we kind of had to hunker down into there for a while during the strongest part of the storm. We're still getting some strong wind and rain gusts, but wanted to show you some damage that we're seeing here from that wind. We've mostly seen kind of the rain building up here and the problems from that flooding, but this parking, this UCF, or USF, excuse me, bus stop structure here, it was right next where they have a lot of the USF buses. The buses kind of just sitting here, and this metal roofing is just peeling off here now, and so you can see just that effect from that relentless strong winds that have been coming through here, starting to kind of cause some damage there. We also been seeing some signs back here kind of just flapping around. Haven't seen, luckily, many trees right around where we're at falling down. There's a lot of those live oaks here that could be susceptible to that, but again, you're seeing that damage from that relentless wind and rain now. And of course, all the area here, water is pooling up over the streets. Of course, campus has been shut down for a couple of days now and is shut down through tomorrow, but we're seeing just the overload on the drainage systems here. So hours and hours of relentless wind and rain are taking a toll here on the USF campus, about 20 miles north of downtown Tampa, but we've definitely seen some of the strongest effects of Milton move through here. That's what things are looking like for right now here in on the campus of USF in Hillsborough County. Back to you.
Jeff Allen, thank you. Appreciate that from Hillsborough County. We've been talking about power outages over the last few hours. Now, Central Florida is starting to experience some of the more heightened impacts from Milton.
Yeah, there are reports that there are now almost 2 million people without power. Let's go to Audrey Statsko with Duke Energy to learn more. Audrey, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing and what the outages are looking like for Duke Energy. I know that there's several different power companies that we work with, but what's Duke seeing?
Currently, we have more than 570,000 customers, Duke Energy Florida customers, without power in our service territory. I'll say a majority of those are in our Tampa Bay area, specifically in Pinellas County, Highlands County, but we have more than 65,000 Central Florida customers without power currently.
What is the process? Always looking ahead. We know Helene is still, you know, an issue for a lot of linemen and other crews up in North Carolina and Tennessee and even, you know, parts around here. Walk us through the process as far as staging folks to be in position to respond as quickly as possible, and what kind of factors they account for in determining essentially who gets power back first.
So Duke Energy has mobilized around 16,000 responders. This includes line workers, vegetation management, tree trimmers, damage assessors, and support personnel. The goal is to stage them in locations that are out of the projected path, but close by to ensure a speedy response. I can tell you, though, anytime we're seeing severe weather or extensive damage, that is going to hinder that restoration process. But know that when it's safe to do so, those crews will be deployed and dispatched to areas hardest hit to get the power back on. Part of our restoration process just focuses on, restoring the greatest number of customers as safely, quickly, and efficiently as possible. Obviously, we do prioritize hospitals, public safety, treatment facilities and pumping stations and things like that. And then we sort of attack transmission infrastructure, transmission lines again, and then get down to the feeder level and try to get everybody on as quickly, as safely as possible.
When it comes to staging your workers during this storm to keep them safe so they're ready to go when the storm is past, where are the places that you had your crews? You did not have workers in Tropicana Field, did you, in St. Petersburg?
No, so this time we staged them at the Villages staging site in Sumter County, as well as the Ritchie Bros Auctioneers in Davenport. And the goal with that is that's where the equipment is housed. The crews themselves are in lodging right near those facilities. So everybody's out of harm's way. The goal is once it's safe to do so, they get the all clear and they will go out to those areas hardest hit. And that's really going to be determined by the damage assessment. That's a critical component of our restoration process. That'll happen soon as weather conditions allow, where our teams will actually go out, see what the damage is, and deploy the resources based on that.
We know there's going to be a lot of assessment really when daylight provides an opportunity. And we know, Duke Energy and others have a seat at the table in the emergency operations centers and a part of that conversation. Is there any insight that you have here at this hour as Milton is still making its way through as far as how the Duke Energy infrastructure is holding up, whether the task ahead will be, feeder lines and relay lines, if there's any of the substations that may need attention, any idea how well the infrastructure itself is doing?
So just based on the weather that I'm seeing, you're seeing a lot of rainfall, strong winds. And so both of those things are going to cause some issues with our equipment, whether it's trees falling down and impacting our lines, water, getting into our equipment and things like that. And so right now we are just in Central Florida still waiting. I think we can anticipate a lot more outages ahead.
What kind of advice can you give to people who perhaps have lost their power and think, what's the big deal? I'm not going to call because I know that there are other neighbors who will call. You need to hear from individual residents so that you can get a tally of certain neighborhoods that have massive outages. How does it work?
So we ask our customers to report their outage a couple different ways. They can do it online. They can call 800-228-8485. They can report the outage in the app, or they can also text the word OUT to 57801. That's an important part of our process is knowing, having that reporting outages in real time. And that's also where we encourage our customers to go to our outage map to receive that real-time information for outages.
Wonderful. Audrey Statsco with Duke Energy. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, 11:41 now here on Wednesday evening. It's already feeling like Thursday.
It really does.
Perhaps one of the benefit of the storm moving kind of ahead of schedule. Let's go ahead and bring back in our weather experts here, including Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick. Walk us through what view is this you've got behind you?
Look at that parking lot.
Yeah, right. This is Claremont. This is at the Publix near Belk. This would be just north of 50, east of 27. And yeah, we are watching waves of rain and very heavy rain and that strong wind. And just a second ago, out of the corner of my eye, I caught what looked like a transformer probably blowing from our Melbourne Beach camera. I'm not sure what direction it's pointed. It's dark. I'll have to go back and maneuver it, but it looked like in the distance we were blowing a transformer. But again, the wind increasing right now. Notice the waves and the trees. Wow. That image says a lot right there as conditions continue to deteriorate for us locally. Recent gusts not coming in at Claremont, but just looking at that, we have gusts that are over 50 to 60 miles per hour, potentially 70. Just upstream, recent gust to 70 at Leesburg Airport here in Orlando, 54 upstream, 60 at Sanford Airport. Daytona International, look at that, a gust to 76 miles per hour. So the rain coming down now, and that's a concern as well. I mentioned just a short time ago, I'd show this to you just because of just how crazy it is. All of the flash flood and flood warnings in place encompasses the entire central part of the state. We actually have, though, a flash flood emergency that encompasses a huge portion of Polk County and up into southern Sumter County, as we have had 8 to 12 inches of rain, and that's unfortunately coming up very quickly in some neighborhoods and causing the flash flooding that we are currently seeing. A quick check on Klystron 13 as we are watching the showers, the rain, I should say, come down at quite a clip. Let me back out. Didn't put my spectacles on, but we'll do this, get through this one here. Looks like the eye is coming across Polk County somewhere. It's harder to depict right now. Coming into central Osceola County, it's going to work its way off to the east-northeast, cross parts of central Osceola and central Brevard County. It's the north side where we're picking up some of the heaviest rainfall and the wind, but the wind is going to start to wrap back in, and it's going to come very quickly up into Osceola and Brevard County. So anticipate your winds over the next hour or so starting to pick up. Been watching our downtown camera here, our Launch Credit Union camera as well. Only one car, thank goodness, but the rain is coming down so heavily on this particular image here. So let's walk you through the timeline. I promised you I'd do this. And our model run from day one of tracking this out has absolutely nailed this storm, Milton. The past few days, we have been tracking it in. We've told you it's going to make a landfall south of Tampa. Timing-wise, this thing has done a tremendous job. Here is a look as we progress through time. 1 a.m., heavy rain falling over parts of Seminole, Orange, back into Volusia County, Lake County. Notice we're not getting much in Brevard and Osceola County at 1 a.m., but that is when the wind is going to be very strong. The center continues to pull across Brevard County. This is 2 a.m. Very heavy rain up toward Volusia and Flagler County. 3 a.m. finally starting to see the back edge into far western Marion County. 4 a.m. catching a little bit of a break in Brevard County. Heavy rain still Palm Coast to Daytona Beach, extending back through DeLand and Leesburg. 5 a.m. There you go, still dealing with rain, Volusia, Seminole, and Orange. Huge drop in the rainfall for Sumter and Marion County. 6, the eastern half of the peninsula. 7, still wrapping back showers, rain, and wind to Volusia and into Flagler County and Brevard County, and the surge is going to be a huge issue at this point as well. Rainfall totals shift everything south. Some of us will pick up 2 feet of rainfall before all is said and done, and that should say Thursday. A quick check on Thursday's forecast. Tammy and Greg, morning rain, strong wind, maybe a couple of peaks of sunshine late in the day. I'll go back and I'll change that Wednesday to Thursday.
We'll give you a break. It's quite all right.
Losing track of which day it is
yeah.
To begin with there. Appreciate that. So
They've
again,
been working around the clock.
Yeah, let's recap here a little bit. It was about 8:30 p.m., so a few hours ago that Milton made landfall Category 3 storm,
Siesta
Key, right there on the Gulf Coast. So after making landfall in Siesta Key earlier this evening, Milton still pretty strong hurricane here.
That's right. And Spectrum News 13's Maria Serrano, she is standing by live for us in areas that we know are going to see the eye of the hurricane. In Osceola County, like Champions Gate, Maria, what are the conditions like at this hour?
Tammy, Greg, good evening to you. Strong winds, torrential rainfall, and as a matter of fact, I even want to give you a live look at what's going on, what's happening. I want to point my microphone. Those strong winds there you just heard, I put my mic near the balcony area just so you can see. My photographer here is pointing at certain areas. Quite a danger there outside. Avoid that area right now completely. We did see some people walking around earlier. That is not a good idea right now. That is because, ooh, you just saw lightning there. That is because the eye of the hurricane is soon approaching us. Again, torrential rainfall here. Those strong, heavy winds as we continue to keep our eyes here. Two things to note. One, curfew. That curfew here in Osceola County started at 8 p.m. That rain falling sideways, as you can see. That curfew in place until 10 a.m. tomorrow. Keep that in mind. Also, at last check, I checked several providers here for energy. There are at least 500 households without power at this point. Keep that in mind. And what officials are telling us is, hey, we will come out there. We will go to Osceola County and serve these areas once it is safe to do so. Right now, as you can see, it's not safe. Again, that wind blowing sideways, that rainfall coming down as we continue to expect the eye of the hurricane to hit us here soon. Greg, Tammy.
All right, thank you so much. We want to talk about flash flood that is pretty serious because we've got flooding across the state. Seminole County specifically warning people in some neighborhoods about this.
Yeah, including Sanford. We've also got Altamont Springs, Longwood. So folks there do need to be aware of a flash flood warning. That means flooding is ongoing or expected to begin soon. Some
critical flood safety tips for you. First of all, don't go out. But if for any reason that you are out, say in the morning, you need to turn around, don't drown, never drive through floodwaters. You just don't have any idea of what's below the floodwaters. Keep out of floodwaters. They could be contaminated, or it could even have dangerous debris or wildlife in there as well. Turn off all electrical power, gas, and propane too.
All right, as we keep tabs on Hurricane Milton, emergency operations centers across the state are all hands on deck. A lot of folks watching what is going on. Seminole County certainly no exception, and different concerns, different times. Devin Martin is in Seminole County for us here tonight as we approach midnight. Devin, good evening to you. What are you seeing there?
Hi, Greg and Tammy. Well, as time moves on, the wind and the rain are getting stronger and stronger. Mother Nature truly is keeping busy. And at the Emergency Operations Center, not too far from where I am currently at, they're trying to keep as calm as they can. Alan Harris, emergency manager for Seminole County, tells me checking in with loved ones, neighbors, and friends is important. And if this hurricane is keeping you up, he says it's important to try and not have your mind overthink.
It is good mental health to take breaks. I'm in here continuously, but there are times where I need to take a 5-minute or 10-minute break, and I walk around the building and I try not to think of something. And really, I come back much more refreshed, and I encourage people to do the exact same thing at home. This is going to be a very, very long night. This is going to be a very stressful evening.
Alan says right now his team is monitoring the swelling of rivers and creeks countywide. Him and his team are truly in this for the long haul. Back to you.
Live for us in Seminole County, and that really is something that cement our coverage with, about
Yeah.
being a calming voice. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress for a lot of people, so we don't want to add to that, but information is key to make sure that you are prepared and not scared. Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick is joining us. We've also got the whole team. So walk us through what should be people be mindful of right now at this hour.
The wind and the water. This is Claremont. And this is the wind that is howling right now. This is not Orlando. This is Claremont, north of 50, east of 27. The wind is gusting now, probably looking at winds that are gusting over 70 miles per hour. So let's go county by county and see what you are going to be continuing to see overnight. This is for Brevard County, as from now through about 7 a.m. is when you will have your worst weather. So it's starting to ramp up, the wind that is, and you will see those gusts starting to approach 60 to 70 miles per hour over the next hour. You might not pick up much rainfall over the next couple of hours, but the wind will increase. And eventually rain will sweep on in, and I'm going to go with the low end 4 for south sections of Brevard County, upwards of 8 north sections of Brevard County. Storm surge is a growing concern as the system pulls offshore tomorrow morning and the wind starts to crank around it. Surge will come up 2 to as much as 5 feet, and it looks like the highest surge is going to come up probably around Playa Linda Beach and up the Cape here. Now let's travel inland over to Osceola County, where conditions are going downhill. I was trying to move, or just before we came out, trying to maneuver our Kissimmee camera to show you what we've got going on, because the wind is really cranking right now. Those gusts are going to approach 65 to 75 miles per hour over the next hour. You will see as much as 2 to 5 inches of rain. Lowest totals south, looks like from Whittier and Yeehaw Junction, Kenansville, probably a couple few inches for you. Upwards of 5 inches, maybe a little bit more up here into far northwestern sections of Osceola County. Orange County, I'm bumping our totals up as well. I've got us at 6 to 9. It is raining so very hard right now. We may end up seeing at least 10, maybe a foot in some neighborhoods here in Orange County. And we do have a flash flood warning in place. Winds that are going to be possibly gusting 70 to 75 over the next hour or so. And that wind will start to come down after, I'd say, probably 1 a.m. down a little bit, but at least the hurricane force gusts over the next hour, hour and a half. Seminole County gusts could approach 70. I've got a swath of 6 to 12 inches of rain for you. The worst weather is now through 5 a.m., and then we'll see some improvement. Let's take you up into Volusia County, and there's a spread, 8 to 18 inches. Looks like we'll have a swath right through the central parts of the county that could see upwards of a foot to a foot and a half. Gusts approaching 70 miles per hour, and again on our coasts, 4 to 5 foot storm surge. Flagler County, the same, 4 to a 5 foot storm surge. I'm going to lower rain totals just a touch here, probably more in line with 6 to 9 inches, because it looks like the axis of heaviest rain has shifted south. In any case, flooding is a concern even in Flagler County. Those winds going to sustain themselves at 50, 55 miles per hour, the worst weather through about 7 a.m. Into Northern Lake from now through 6 a.m., 8 to 15 inches of rain, depending on your location. We've already had gusts approaching 70. Southern Lake, you've already had gusts over 70, 75. Just shared the Claremont camera with you here, and those winds are howling. We're starting to see some power outages creep closer to Orlando. I know we have some in Orlando. 9 to 15 inches, by the way, here in Southern Lake County. And the worst weather wrapping up before 4, at least winding down before 4. We're still going to see strong wind all day tomorrow. Wind comes down tomorrow evening, but we will at least bring the heaviest of wind down. 60 to 70, 75 mile per hour winds in Sumter County right now. And I'd say in about an hour, hour and a half, we'll get out of those high-end wind gusts, 10 to 15 inches of rain, continuing up the coast here from now through 4 a.m. in Marion County, 7 to 10 inches of rain, the highest rain falling across the southeastern part of the county. Those wind gusts to about 70 miles per hour. 7-day forecast I've been sharing with you. Rain coverage is tomorrow morning. I'll need to actually back this up. Start with Thursday, 50% coverage here. Tomorrow, wrapping up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Wow. Huge improvement. Greg and Tammy, a light at the end of the tunnel. We will see lower dew points, lower temperatures, lots of sunshine, and a preview of our dry season as the cleanup is on full force from Friday through the upcoming weekend.
All right, Brian, looking forward to that once we get through the next couple of hours here. For a lot of folks, it's the power.
Yeah, that's a big
It's
deal.
something we're going to have to deal with because it's not just the creature comforts of air conditioning, but a lot of people have different devices, medical devices at home where they need to rely on power being on at home.
Let's get to our Sasha Tiemann. She is joining us now with the very latest on the numbers about these power outages.
Yeah, Greg, Tammy, that's right. Now, we're still waiting for Hurricane Milton to pass through Central Florida, but we can tell you that there are currently more than 1.9 million power outages across the state of Florida. Now, according to FPL's Power Tracker, in the past 2 hours, there have been over 24,000 additional power outages in Sarasota County. Now, on Florida's reminder that is on Florida's west coast, and that's actually where Hurricane Milton made landfall around 8:30 p.m. tonight. But if we move eastward towards Central Florida, we've really seen those numbers ramp up as Hurricane Milton continues to gain ground, and it's making its way towards Central Florida. Now, those outages are scattered across our different counties, extending from Sumter County in western Central Florida to the east coast near Volusia County. But the majority of these outages that we're seeing in Central Florida right now remain strong for Marion County with over 21,000 customers without power, and Orange County with more than 18,000 outages. Now, we spoke to FPL and they told us that they have more than 17,000 workers staged across the state to help clear those outages, but it's still too early to tell how long that will take. But right now, their priority is safety.
Our biggest thing for customers right now is to please stay safe. Please don't get out of your home until it is safe to do so, and know that our crews are ready to respond. As soon as it's safe for them to be out there, they will be out restoring power around the clock.
Sarah Gatewood says there will likely be restoration challenges for crews, especially in areas where there are floods. But in the meantime, she wants to remind people to steer clear of downed power lines that could still be energized and to be wary of those flooded areas, since there could also be power lines underwater as well. Now, we're going to keep providing updates for you throughout the night on what these power outages are going to look like now that Milton gets closer to Central Florida.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you, Sasha. And again, it's the power outages. Couple reminders here. We're about a moment away from the top of the hour, and we're going to bring our meteorologist back. But
let's talk a little more about those power outages, because remember, I was just telling you before you came in today to do what? Get a flashlight.
Done.
We have
learned. My first rodeo, as they say. I got that. All the batteries powered up. Yes, we have.
Well,
rain gear and all that good
and to work and in the car, and because we're working, it's a little different.
Yeah. So let's go ahead as we near the top of a new day.
Yeah, almost Thursday here.
In there, and it's just interesting because 24 hours ago we were looking, as Brian was talking about, the 11 o'clock midnight landfall, and then things started to pick up just a little bit. And right here, this
look
is
at Sanford. Take a look at that. Palm trees blowing. You can tell those winds are up.
Still got power in parts of Seminole County here. We see that. So let's go ahead and.
Well, no matter what happens, the flooding is horrible. You lose power if your home is dry, you don't have a tree on the roof.
Yep.
It's just good news. It's something that you can deal with, the power outages, unless, of course, there's a medical situation and you really need to have power. Now, this is another look here, a live look, just showing us.
Oh,
wow,
did you just see that right there?
Transformer looked like it just blew right there in front of our eyes. But we knew this was going to be a big time issue for our area, and that we were going to have to get by for some time, probably without power. If you've lived in Florida for a while, you have to kind of know that this is always a possibility.
All right, it is now midnight. Here on Thursday, Hurricane Milton made landfall hours ago, 8:30 p.m., right near Siesta Key as a powerful Category 3 storm, bringing hurricane-level conditions to Central Florida as well. So we appreciate you being with us as we continue to track this storm. I'm Greg Angel.
And I'm Tammy Fields. We have team coverage for you across the state, but we want to get straight over to the Weather Center because we do know that our team of dual certified meteorologists, they have been working around the clock as we watch this storm make landfall and as we continue to track it as it moves now. Mallory, what's the latest?
Yeah, we wanted you to prepare for this storm, and now that it's here, we want to keep you informed of what's going on, and we're going to stick with you for the duration of this event. But I want to start first with the latest update on Hurricane Milton. Wind speeds have been slowly backing down since landfall, sitting at 100 miles per hour at this point, moving off to the east-northeast at 16 miles per hour. So we still have a strong hurricane that is pushing across land at this point and bringing a lot of rain and some high gusty wind to areas at this time. And I want to switch over to Klystron 13 here because we do have some of those heavier rain bands that are pushing across the area, especially in Orange County up into Seminole County. You saw that camera in Seminole County a little while ago. Not only the gusty wind with the palm tree, but those heavier showers coming down as well. And this is from Champions Gate up toward the Four Corners area and even up to Windermere, Orlando, up into Seminole County. Basically the I-4 corridor, looking at those heavier showers at this time. And I want to check out the wind that is within this activity right now, because that is definitely a concern along with the flooding issue in the area. And as I go in a little bit closer, I look for the brightest reds here. That's your strongest wind, and that is pushing across the area. And yeah, we are seeing gusts in several locations over 70 miles per hour. And there are spots in parts of Lake County over 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So we're going to continue to track those strong gusty winds along with the heavier showers. We'll check out some of the rainfall totals and where we have flash flooding concerns at this time coming up very soon. Here, Tammy and Greg.
All right, Mallory, thank you. Let's go to Lake County now. We got Randy Roush standing by for us with the latest on the conditions there.
Hey, Greg and Tammy, I'll tell you what, you guys have been doing a great job. They're giving us also a lot of information out here, talking about power outages. Power where we're at least here in Tavares, this section of Tavares, it is out. However, I look across a lake here, I do see some lights on the other side where there is power, so it may be sort of spotty power outages throughout Lake County. Hard to say. No question, this is some of the strongest winds and rainfall we have been seeing over the last hour blowing through this portion of Lake County. Steady rain, and I know there's been concerns about flash flooding in the area. I don't know of any, but it's certainly possible if we continue to see this amount of rainfall in such a short period of time. We continue to really monitor the weather conditions across Lake County at this hour. I suspect we're going to continue to see this for the next hour or so. That's what we're anticipating as we sort of track the storm as we watch you guys there back in the studio, and certainly seeing some of the strongest winds and rainfall at this hour. Yep, there you go. There's another strong one. Well, hang on. Bear with me. So I'll toss it back to you guys. Here comes another strong gust. I will say to everyone, as I always do with these types of storms, be glad you're inside. Do not come out at this time across Central Florida. The weather is rough out there. We're starting to really see the strength of Hurricane Milton. Live here in Tavares, Randy Roush, Spectrum News.
Thank you, Randy, and please get to safety ASAP. We appreciate our crews, and we do know that they have a safe place close by that they can get out of that wind and water. So right now we want to talk about
some of the flooding concerns, because that is something that Brian's been talking about quite a bit. We did hear earlier in the evening from Governor Ron DeSantis as he talks about some of the resources in place. Yeah, about 7:30 this evening. So here's what the governor had to say at that point about how they are assessing and preparing for flooding in Central Florida.
I do think north of the storm there's a lot of precipitation. I think you're going to see inland flooding in Central Florida, north central Florida. I think you're going to see storm surge in northeast Florida, places like Daytona Beach, Flagler Beach, St. Johns County. I think you will see that coming on the backside of the storm. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But bottom line is we have the resources amassed. We'll use all that we need. But yes, I hope I can just send a bunch of them home to say, you know, we got the job done.
And the governor is saying that this is also basically one of the largest contingent of pre-storm personnel.
Yeah.
So again, we've got a number of factors, you know, the storm speed and, you know, location of it. You know, things may be very different for Marion County than they will be in Osceola County.
Exactly.
Also hearing from President Biden as well. He had been keeping tabs on Hurricane Milton.
You know, he announced that he was postponing his trip to Germany as well as Angola for this. Here's his message right now about help for Florida earlier today.
We've already directed the Department of Defense to be ready to provide active duty service members to support Florida after the storm surge if Governor DeSantis requests the help, which I expect he might.
Well, FEMA, he says, is ready to respond. And just this morning, FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell, she said that she spoke with Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer and will stay in touch with him throughout the duration of this storm. She says that she also followed up with Governor DeSantis, too, to make sure that the state has all of the resources that might be needed. Well.
So, and one thing that FEMA's been having to do is combat a lot of misinformation. That's something that the governor's had to answer about in recent days, especially after Helene and the impacts that we have been seeing in North Carolina and Tennessee and elsewhere.
I think one of our reporters, too, Katie Strite, was able to go over to FEMA's staging center and was able to find out some good information on the ground to share with people that FEMA is saying, we are here for you. They literally had their people here ahead of Helene and then again ahead of Milton to make sure that they have all the resources ready to go as soon as they could start helping people.
And here's the thing, especially if you're new to Florida, but if you're not, one thing you know is Florida has some of the best emergency response and disaster response personnel probably in the country. And these are people, they practice for all sorts of scenarios, including storms just like Milton. It takes a lot of collaboration. And we even heard from the governor and the president talking about the collaboration between their administration and just to make sure that people are able to get the resources and services that they need. And response typically local to top, because locals always know the best.
We should say, too, that these are not people that are planning a month before or a few weeks. They plan year round for this.
Speaking of experts, we've got our Brevard County expert, Greg Pallone. He knows Brevard County well. Greg is joining us right now with photojournalist John Shaban from Brevard County. And again, John, as Brian and our team have been talking about, you guys will kind of get the last remnants of this storm at the very end, departing before sunrise. How are things now at this hour, 12:08 a.m.?
Yeah, Greg, Tammy, we're getting the worst of the gusts that we've had all night long as we extend into the overnight hours now that we're past midnight, and gusting pretty well. Hadn't had a chance to use our instrument to measure the wind gusts, but these gusts are certainly up there. Just guessing after covering storms like this, probably somewhere in the 30-mile-an-hour range, only expected to get worse throughout the overnight. But again, we've not seen any rain. There just has not been any rain, no rain bands. Early on, though, there were some rain bands, and one of them, we show you some video now, affected a motel down in Grant Valcaria, actually flooding out that property and getting into the motel rooms. About 2 feet of water, a deluge of rain came down and flooded out that motel and had to evacuate 9 of the people who were staying there. Also, one man was injured when he slipped and fell into the water. He was transported to the hospital. And also we saw some people bringing their pets, like their dogs, out as well to evacuate and get out of that situation. But really, since then, we haven't seen any significant rain. Did get a chance to talk to the property manager, though, and she says she's been there a long time and never seen anything like this.
It was like a flash flooding, just quickly. And then the water started rising within seconds in the rooms.
Yeah, unfortunately, everyone is off that property now and able to be get to a safe place. Right now, if you come back to us live, we're getting the worst of the gusts that we have had really all night and then into the overnight. It is gusting really well. We're in Palm Bay, off of Palm Bay Road, about a mile or so from Interstate 95. So we are starting to feel the impacts of this very large storm.